Thank you so much for your help and support, guys. Today, we'll be recapping a story called The Lady's Butler. Enjoy. Lying on her bed, Woori is once again rereading her all-time favorite novel series, Held a Flower. Even though she has read this repeatedly, the pain of reading Lancelot's death still hurt her chest. She hates how Lancelot is destined to die, so she doesn't want to keep reading. She leaves a comment right before going to sleep. She writes about how much she wants to take care of Lancelot and live with him. And you'll never guess what happens next. Don't you? Or do you? She ends up in another world, of course. She is awoken by a gentle voice. At first, she thinks it is her brother trying to mess with her. But when she opens her eyes, the person who greets her is someone else entirely. Who is this person she's seeing? Seeing her startled expression, the man asks if she wants her favorite orange juice. She remembers that line. Her favorite character used to say that to Lady Charlotte in the novel. She looks at the man closely. He has black hair and sparkly red eyes. Is he her favorite character, Lancelot? How did this happen? We're getting a little jealous and dreamy here. We'd like to wake up in a fairy tale world too, please. She then asks for a mirror, and what she sees in the mirror is not Woori, the regular Korean office worker. No, for some reason, the person in front of her is Charlotte Renaud. This is so cool! When Charlotte wakes up, she starts acting strange. After looking in the mirror, she falls asleep again. Lancelot is just relieved that she's okay again, so he intends to prepare her favorite meal before she wakes up again. Aw, how sweet! Wish someone this handsome cooks for us. When she wakes up again, she thinks that her encounter with Lancelot was just a dream. She's even disappointed that she didn't get to do anything with him. Us too, girl. But before she can finish her rambling, she notices that a hand is holding onto hers. Where do we apply to be transported into this world? We want to hold hands with this handsome fella too. She is in awe of his presence, and she nuzzles his hand with her face, thinking that it was just a dream. Lancelot's heart, on the other hand, is in dire jeopardy for beating too fast. So adorable. When Lancelot explains that she is not dreaming, she instantly lets go of his hand. He stops her frantic apologies by offering her food instead. But when she sees the table, she can't believe the amount of food there is. However, Lancelot is only worried about her since she has been eating less. So Charlotte, aka Charlotte, remembers an episode wherein the real Charlotte was trying to be slim for the Duke. She starts recalling what she knows about the novel. She realizes just how lucky she is that she can be with Lancelot. That's every fangirl's dream right there. Am I right, guys? But then she remembers that by the end of the novel, Lancelot will die. Hold up. Nuh-uh, that can't be right. Right? It's been 2 months, and Charlotte knows that she can't let things go as they are. In the novel, Charlotte had gathered forces to attack Duke Vestia, but the Duke had the Emperor on his side. House Renaud was destroyed on grounds of treason, and Charlotte was killed by the man she loved. Lancelot watched all of this unfold, and in his grief, he unleashed his magical powers to kill Duke Vestia and many others, only to take his own life after all of that. She only wishes that Lancelot be happy. Oh no, such a tragic story. Let's hope she will succeed in changing the outcome, since we can't be heartbroken in the end. We wish Lancelot happiness too. After Lancelot helps her prepare for bed, he bids her goodnight. She did the same with a smile on her face. What she doesn't know is that Lancelot sneaks out when she's fast asleep. Where are you going, dear Lancelot? Later on, it is raining outside when a stranger enters the magic tower. Everyone is startled, not knowing why he is there. It turns out he is the master of the magical tower, aka Roshan. They pay him respect, and he tells one of the magicians, Gallian, to lead him to the library. He intends to research spiritual magic. He knows that Charlotte is behaving strangely, and he intends to find out why. Oh no, will Charlotte be discovered? Lancelot was raised by a dragon named Fatima, who became his mentor. However, one day, Fatima commanded him to kill a bunch of magicians. When he refused, Fatima left him that day. I feel bad for him. He unleashed his power in front of the other magicians. They started calling him Roshan, even when he told them not to. He was declared the true master of the tower. For years, he had tried to search for Fatima. He searched everywhere, yet he found no sign of her. His search is the reason why he met Charlotte. No, is this happy fate or just another sad destiny? Back in the present, Lancelot is sorting through the letter when he comes across one that shocked him. He brings it to his mistress at once. When he enters, Charlotte instantly notices his solemn state. She fusses over him and asks if he is sick. He tells her that Duke Vestia has started taking action. He continues that she will have to deal with the Duke soon. He worries that this will shock the girl, but is surprised when she acts like it is nothing. She continues to ask him if he is all right. That is when Charlotte realizes that she is not acting like Charlotte because of her worry for him. What if he senses that something is wrong? You better act right now, young lady. Charlotte is panicking that Lancelot will figure out that she is not Charlotte. To her confusion, he tells her that she doesn't have to hide her feelings. He thinks that she still has feelings for Duke Vestia and is hiding it. She tries to deny it, especially since Duke Vestia is her least favorite character. Hey, if our girl hates him, we hate him as well. We got you, girl. She doesn't want Lancelot to get the wrong idea, but she can't exactly tell him that. Instead, she tells him that she doesn't have any feelings for the Duke. And to prove this, she tells him that she's going to give up on her revenge. Rather than entertaining her statement, he merely checks her temperature, thinking that she is sick. Oh, Lancelot, believe her already. She only cares about you. Don't be tense, please. He ends up thinking that Charlotte so Woori is joking. Charlotte explains to him that she is serious. She tells him that she has no family except for her servants who stayed with her despite everything. She has no chance against the Duke since they are outmatched and she doesn't want to sacrifice anyone. To her surprise, Lancelot tells her that they aren't outmatched. He kneels before her and asks her to use his sword fighting as well as his magic. Since you're kneeling already, can we just skip to the proposal part? She stands up and exclaims that he shouldn't be saying this since the Empire shuns magic. Lancelot grabs her hand and expresses how determined he is. Charlotte doesn't want to hear it due to the possibility of them being accused of treason. Rather than answering her, he starts taking off his shirt. What? Please don't stop. Lancelot is shirtless in front of her, making Charlotte blush. I bet she is confused like the rest of us. What is going on here, Lance? The modern girl in her regrets not having a camera. Charlotte, you pervert! Close your eyes! Only us can peek a little. She becomes even more confused when unknown inscriptions start appearing on his skin and the air around him. He explains that it is the history of magic and only he can read it. He reveals that he is the master of the magic tower. He puts on his shirt while explaining that he will do everything in his power to support her. Charlotte, on the other hand, is confused once again. The author of the novel never mentions something like this. It must have changed because of her appearance in this world. However, she is more concerned with whether or not the marks hurt Lancelot, so she fusses over him once again. Lancelot is taken aback by the way she's acting. Poor Lancelot. He doesn't know how to react to the love of his life treating him this way. He assures her that they don't hurt anymore. She knows that she is not Charlotte, but she likes him. All she wants is his happiness. She confesses to him that she doesn't love Duke Vestia anymore because she is in love with someone else. The next day, Lancelot finds her asleep against the tree. He recalls how strangely she was acting recently, so he decides to use his magic to find out. What he saw startles him. Before him, Lady Charlotte changes into a brown-haired girl. Oh no! Charlotte so Woori's been discovered! He doesn't know what happened. Actually, neither do we. His Lady Charlotte is a different woman. When he retrieves his mana, Charlotte's appearance goes back to normal. The magic is a soul-finding one. This can mean that Charlotte's soul has been replaced. But why? Where is the real Charlotte? He is so angry that he can't think straight. He's about to use magic on the woman who is not Charlotte when she suddenly wakes up. Upon seeing Lancelot with a serious face, she instantly thinks that she is dreaming again. She starts talking nonsense again, mumbling how he is her favorite character and talking about the lottery. Lancelot just looks at her confused, not knowing what she means. To his surprise, she grabs his face and tells him how she wants him to find someone who will love him. She tells him that she will find a path to his happiness. Another hopeless romantic added to the list. All of a sudden, she switches their position, and he finds himself leaning against the tree. Charlotte, believing that she is still dreaming, hisses him. Girl, that was sneaky. Us next. Lancelot is so dazed. He hardly moves when she falls asleep on him once again. Despite his fears, Lancelot arrives in the morning with a bit of a threatening smile on his face. It seems like he wants to say something to her, but is holding himself back. While she is worrying about the matters of her state and how she can maintain her territories, Lancelot points out how bothered she is. He looks like he's planning something, don't you think? He suggests that they do the things she likes the most in times like this. Charlotte has to recall what he means, and to her horror, it was sword fighting. How are you going to get out of this, Charlotte? I don't think sword fighting is your forte at all. She knows that the real Charlotte is a sword master, but she's just a normal office worker. She figures that she can apply Charlotte's swordmanship the way she does with her knowledge of dealing with estate documents. But she is scared. I would be too if I'm being honest. She tries talking out of it, but Lancelot is persistent. He even suggests a small wish for the winner as a prize. What are you planning, Lancelot? She gives in the end. It's a good thing that despite her fear, her theory is correct. She can use Charlotte's swordsmanship since her body remembers. The two dance around one another with their sword in hand. Despite everything going smoothly, her sword breaks and Lancelot wins their little wager. She prepares to hear his wish, thinking that he would ask her who she is in love with. She is wrong. He asks her to be his fiancée. Oh my God. It looks like the long wait line has already ended. Lance, can you also make us your fiancés? Pretty please. Charlotte is so confused by what she heard that she thinks she misheard him. So Lancelot repeats himself. He asks her to be his fiancée again. Wah! It's the ultimate fangirl achievement. We are jealous. She is lost in thoughts when Lancelot takes her hand and she looks up into his eyes. Now this is a real fairy tale moment right here. She feels all her worries fade away with just that. Maybe everything will work out. Charlotte can love Lancelot if she spends time with him as a couple. But of course, Lancelot has to go and ruin everything by saying that it is just an engagement for appearances. Boo! Kidding. Lancelot has his reasons, of course. He tells her that since she loves someone who is not of noble birth, being engaged with him will ensure that they can be together. Oh, you self-sacrificing man. Fight for your love! Apologies. You can do whatever you want, Lancelot. Don't mind us. As Master of the Magic Tower, associating with him will restore the power of House Renaud to a point that she can confidently be with the man she loves. Charlotte is overwhelmed just how much Lancelot is willing to sacrifice for the real Charlotte. She doesn't want to agree since she doesn't want him to be let down. Lancelot merely smiles at her and tells her that her happiness is his happiness. Oh my God, where are all the Lancelots in the world? Can we order one for us, please? In the end, she agrees because whenever she looks into his eyes, all she wants to do is everything she can for him. How romantic of her. They are in the palace to ask the Emperor's approval of their engagement. The two of them step into the throne room together, and Lancelot takes her hand and tells her not to be too nervous since he is by her side, and he will protect her no matter what. What a dreamboat, right? When they are in front of the Emperor, she is surprised at how young he is. She always thought he was some middle-aged geezer, but apparently not. But he's still a manipulative person who refuses to acknowledge her as the head of her house. Boo! Your good looks are nothing then if your attitude is like this. To her surprise, Lancelot is openly rude to the Emperor. The Emperor is clearly repressing his anger, but the fact that he's trying to contain it means that the Roshan is indeed a formidable person. The Emperor asks him for a demonstration of his magic, since he is supposed to be the master of the magic tower. Lancelot snaps his finger, and the Emperor is suddenly drenched in water. Lancelot, that's rude! And awesome at the same time. Lancelot then grins at him, asking if the proof is enough for him. Lancelot offers that in exchange for the Emperor announcing their engagement, he will lift the drought in the Drought region that has been under a drought for years now. The offer is too good to be true, but the Emperor snatched it up. Charlotte and Lancelot are outside discussing what happened during their talk with the Emperor. Charlotte is even surprised when Lancelot explains that the drought is not a natural disaster, but is magically influenced, and it seems like Duke Vestia is involved. Charlotte already expects that kind of behavior from that man. Well, I'm not surprised either. That Duke is despicable. They are about to head out when a maid tells her that Princess Sierra wants to see her. Princess Sierra is the Emperor's younger sister. How random, especially since not much is mentioned about her in the novel. What could she want from her? When she arrives at the princess's quarters, she is mesmerized by how adorable she is. When the princess compliments her looks, aka Charlotte's looks, Charlotte can't help but compliment the young princess back. The princess is quite pleased by her praises. However, she starts getting pissed when the princess questions the value of her engagement with her butler. She proudly tells her that her fiancé will lift the drought in the Drought region. The princess, however, only expresses her utter disbelief. The princess changes her demeanor and starts saying that the magic Lancelot only ever shows her were things like making water drops. Charlotte suspects something is wrong when she realizes that Princess Sierra knows Lancelot's name. There is only ever one person that Lancelot showed his magic, and it's Charlotte. The princess reveals that she is indeed the real Charlotte. Sierra demands to know who she is, and Charlotte panics. She tells her that she is Rupa, Charlotte's favorite maid. Sierra tells her that she is lucky and that she should know her place. How rude, right? Gosh, is this really how the real Charlotte is? Sierra tells her that she left her past life behind. To Charlotte's shock, she doesn't want to be Charlotte anymore. Oh my, she deliberately left her body. When Charlotte meets up with Lancelot by the carriage, he immediately starts worrying about her, seeing as she is so pale. She stares at him for a moment and runs to him to embrace him. She is still hugging Lancelot tight as she recalls all the things Sierra has told her. How is she supposed to tell Lancelot that Charlotte has left him to live a life for someone else? Lancelot asks her if the princess was rude to her. Yes, she was. She instantly denies this since she doesn't want them to meet yet. The ever-kind Lancelot holds her face out of worry. So cute. She assures him that she only needs to rest. It is the day that Lancelot is supposed to lift the drought. Charlotte is pissed that the Emperor brought so many people with him, and all they do is gossip about them, especially since most of them are there to see them fail. To make matters worse, Sierra is there as well. With ease, Lancelot stands there and summons his magic, and the rain starts falling in no time. He is like a god at that moment. A handsome one at that. Everyone is shocked, and they start celebrating the end of the long drought. She watches the Emperor speak with Lancelot from a distance. The rain is falling all around her, proof of Lancelot's power. Sierra approached her to warn Charlotte to not do anything ridiculous until she is married to the Duke of Vestia. Charlotte asks in disbelief if the reason she did all of this is so she can marry the man who destroyed her life. She asks her if it is even worth it. Sierra insists that she will give him what he wants, and they will be happy. Oh dear, why would you do that to yourself? Later, in the carriage, Lancelot questions Charlotte about her conversation with the princess. She decides to pretend that everything is fine. To divert his attention, she teases him by asking if he is interested in the princess. There is a moment of silence, and she regrets what she said. That is, until Lancelot takes her hand and kisses it, saying that he can't look at another since his eyes are already filled with her. Oh my goodness, our hearts flutter every time. What a line! I don't blame Charlotte for her reaction, honestly. Ugh, to be Charlotte so oody. At the ball, Lancelot charmingly asked for Charlotte's hand to dance. How cute. but she notices that no one's talking to them as she expected. Then, everyone is whispering bad about Lancelot's magic as if it is an ominous thing. Ma'ams, sirs, did you forget how he just lifted the drought a moment ago? Ugh, how ungrateful. Charlotte can't stand people who mock her Lancelot, and so she asks him to go somewhere else. However, Sierra interrupts the two. Charlotte is so frustrated because why can't Sierra just ignore them, right? She keeps talking to Charlotte whenever she sees her. Sierra, real Charlotte, can be really annoying most of the time. She just knows how to get on our nerves. Sierra, being the she-devil as she is, starts to blabber about Charlotte turning a blind eye to her invitations. Charlotte tells her that she's just simply busy. Even though Sierra is aware of their visits to other regions to help resolve the issues, she still intentionally puts on a pitiful face and quivering voice for other people to hear. Ugh, she's like one heck of a manipulative witch. Then, she takes back her manipulative side and tells Charlotte that she is just joking, and in fact, she is happier of their accomplishments as if they were her own. Where's the joke there, princess? You may have forgotten the laughable factor here. On the other hand, Charlotte wonders since when did they become friends? Anyway, she's not letting Sierra win in faking their friendship. And so she promises to live up to the princess's expectations and to reestablish her family name soon with her darling. Wow, yes, so Charlotte! Show the world that he's yours. And ours, too. Lancelot's face turns red as she looks at her arms clinging onto him. Charlotte is embarrassed when she notices that Lancelot looks so flustered, so she reasons out their engagement ceremony that will take place soon, which makes her think that they should address each other more intimately. Oh, come on. You're just being sneaky, Charlotte. Just admit it. We won't bite. A tad? Then, Sierra breaks their moment. She steps forward and reminds him that they haven't introduced themselves to each other yet. And the most witchy award of the year goes to… You guessed it right. It's Princess Sierra. Yay. The boy who had been blessed with mana was named after the greatest knight. Whenever he used his magical powers, he would be abused and received cold looks that made him lonely. Oh, no one deserves this kind of loneliness. But one day, he had been wandering aimlessly after being deserted by a loved one. It was the first time he heard that his magic was beautiful, just like fireflies. And just like that, he fell in love. Charlotte forgets that the real Charlotte is inside Sierra's body and knows more about Lancelot, including his treasured memory of their first encounter. Even though Sierra knew that, she still abandoned him in her past, and now she's trying to shake him up like this by bringing up the fireflies? Don't you dare, Sierra-Lot. Charlotte thinks if Lancelot had noticed the truth, and if that's the case, then she will be the one who's hindering the two. But then Lancelot squeezes her hand and assures her that she is the most beautiful thing on earth. Reassuring Lance is a top tier. We're melting. However, someone with hair as red as a blazing fire and dark amber eyes approaches before them. This man is definitely Vestia, her least favorite character and the root of all the tragedies in the novel. Surprisingly, he is quite handsome too, but nah, what a red flag. Though, we're kind of colorblind. Vestia treats Lancelot like an object and tries to mock Charlotte, but she has already prepared something for the day. Wow, now that's a power move from our Charlotte. 1 point for her and 0 point for the Duke. Now we want to keep it at that, hopefully. Charlotte uncovers the basket and happily announces that she recently found out that the Emperor likes cats. Yes, her gift is lots of cats, but her knowledge on his character is detailed in a side story. No one knows how Vestia is scared of cats. LOL, what? He is scared of those fluffy little paws? Oh, meow. Vestia appears troubled, so he excuses himself from the ball. Sierra follows him, casting one last glance at Charlotte, a clear indication that she won't let Charlotte escape the consequences. But really, that threat doesn't scare Charlotte at all. That's our girl. Lancelot has a feeling that somehow Sierra is similar to Charlotte, but when he realizes that she feels sad about it, of course she's sad because she's not the real Charlotte after all, he offers to take her somewhere because she didn't let the Duke nor the princess put her down. Oh, so sweet of you, Lance. Hope someone's this sweet to us, too. In the garden, Charlotte stumbles upon her heels, but Lancelot grabs her closer to him. He doesn't let go and asks if she has something to tell him. Uh-oh, is her secret going to be discovered? Lancelot discovered Miss Charlotte's true location within the Imperial Palace using magic. Her trail led deeper into the palace, where he encountered Mephisto, a powerful demon who had caused chaos throughout the continent by making deals with numerous people. Although Lancelot desperately wanted to rescue Charlotte, she was never his to begin with. The demon revealed that Charlotte had summoned him herself, abandoning everything she had. Initially skeptical, Lancelot was shown a contract signed by Charlotte, triggering memories of her dismissing him as a burdensome servant. Lancelot returned to the palace, remembering how Fatima and Charlotte created a new world for him, only to slip away afterwards, leaving him alone in that world. He decided to just quit everything. For him, it was so painful to live a life where he kept getting abandoned. Oh, poor Lancelot. But then, someone called his name. Panting, Charlotte ran to him and happily welcomed him back. She was so worried that she ended up yelling at him. Lancelot, on the other hand, was surprised to hear that someone was worried about him who was just a servant. Charlotte then told him that she didn't need a reason to worry about someone who was precious to her. Then, an unfamiliar feeling of hope and anxiety was swirling inside his heart. Maybe this Charlotte can give him what he wanted so desperately all his life. Hearing her kind words every day while looking at him so unwaveringly shattered his younger self with abandonment issues. It seemed like she knew him for a long time already, but then when he questioned her about betraying her trust, she still wouldn't regret being by his side and that she trusted him so much. She was happy enough to be with him. But the truth is, she just really finds it sexy when her favorite character is threatening her life. Don't we too, guys? Lancelot found it strange how she told him not to give up on himself, as if she could read his mind because just a minute ago, he had wanted to give up on everything. At that moment, he thought he caught a glimpse of a woman's face with the moon beaming on her innocent smile. At that very moment, he wanted to know about her not just as Charlotte, but as Woori. OMG, we didn't expect this to come sooner. Yes! Back in the garden, Lancelot realizes that she doesn't want to reveal who she really is, but at the same time, he thinks she's adorable. This is what we've been waiting for, Lance! Get her, boy! In his mind, Charlotte makes him realize what a happy thing it is to be cherished, even if she loves someone else. Whoa, what? Lance, we're telling you, you're the one she's falling for! You're one heck of a dense one, aren't you? Lancelot badly wants to know her true self, or at least her real name, because he wants to cherish her more, but he is anxious not to say the wrong thing, or else she might also disappear. He doesn't want things to end like that ever again. When she calls him the godlike magician, he tells her that she feels like a god to him. It's as if the rules of this world are nothing to her, as if she has come from a very distant land. 'Cause you do, what you talking about? Charlotte asks him to practice dancing before they head back inside. Being so adorable as she is, Lancelot can't help himself from badly kissing her, but then he pulls away, remembering that she loves someone else. But of course, Charlotte tells him the truth behind the man she was in love with, so he better kiss her right now. Without a second thought, Lancelot kisses her as she wraps her arms around him. Is it just me, or are we not giving them the privacy they need? Like, get a room, you two? He questions her if she isn't just teasing him or anything, but oh God, the heavens will punish her if she teases him about something like that. From a distance, Sierra summons Mephisto to gather information about Charlotte. Here we go again. Charlotte is practicing swinging her swords early in the morning to distract herself from what happened last night. Then, Lancelot approaches her with her favorite orange juice. He wipes her sweat and lets her take a sip. We badly need a Lancelot. Charlotte's heart begins to race, but she notices how ordinary Lancelot's behavior is. And so she yells at him again, but she stops when he guides her hand to his chest. Heart stroke alert. Even through his clothes, she can feel his heartbeat. Or maybe it's the sound of her own heart beating. Then again, he kisses her. He can't get enough of her. Help! Lancelot tells her that it's only morning, so they should stop there. Huh? What would have happened if it wasn't in the morning? Then they are interrupted by Rupa, a servant, saying that they have a visitor with a royal order from the emperor. Guess who? It's Vestia. Ew, another party pooper. Vestia again tries to manipulate Charlotte, but as strong-minded as she is, she coldly insults him back. Way to go, girl. Vestia reminds her that he used to be her fiancé, so she doesn't have to act cold towards him, but Lancelot, to the rescue, calls out his name. But then Charlotte swings her sword towards his neck with the last ounce of her patience. Yes, show him who the Sword of the Empire is. When Vestia tells her that she's being touchy, she throws her sword to a man who is hiding in the bush. Charlotte reminds him that it is her estate and her territory, so she can sense many others who are hiding around. Charlotte knows that Vestia is also a sword master, so it can be dangerous to fight him, but to her surprise, he retreats, telling her that he has grown interested in her. Of course, it disgusts her thinking that he is the type to fall for women who are able to hit him. Charlotte holds Lancelot's face and acknowledges his self-control in holding back and putting up a fight. But of course, Lancelot won't do anything that would trouble her. Charlotte is so flustered that she encourages him to put out the forest fire as ordered by the Emperor. But when she turns her back, Lancelot grabs her waist and intertwined his fingers so as not to let her go. Lancelot, you really do know how to make a woman weak. In truth, Lancelot wants to propose without making such excuses. He wants to ask her in marriage for real. We asked for a proposal at the start of the story, and we got one. But of course, our mother Charlotte here does not even hesitate to say yes. As she should, or will be the one saying yes instead. In the forest, Faid, Gallian, and other magicians are instructed to put down the fire from the Roshan himself, Lancelot. But then they found a burnt body, but his death wasn't from the fire, but from a wound indicated that he was stabbed by a knife. However, what's even more terrifying is the paper in his hand containing the way to summon a demon. A few days after Vestia visited the Renault estate, he kept sending flowers to Charlotte. She is so frustrated that she orders Lancelot to burn them all and to blow the ashes far away so they won't drift into her territory. What a savage! Classy and bougie. In the hallway, Lancelot is worried that Vestia might try to woo her in town. But again, she reassures him that no matter what Vestia will do, she is still head over heels for him. She pokes his chest with her finger, telling him that she looks more attractive than before because she's in love with him. In town, while Charlotte is on her way to a dress shop, Vestia appears before her. Vestia wonders how his ex-fiancé's spirit shines more than ever. Her light is the light that of a new star. He tries to reach her, but she slaps his hand. In his mind, her light burns too much for him to touch, but his desire to possess it grows even stronger. What? Now he suddenly wants her? What a joke! When Charlotte comes back to the estate, Sierra is already waiting for her. What now? When Charlotte enters the living room, she orders another servant instead of Rupa to prepare some tea. However, Sierra can still distinguish her servants in her past life very well. She even tells Charlotte that she isn't the real one. But to Charlotte, knowing that Sierra already found out the truth, it makes her feel more at ease. So she asks Sierra the reason why she came to the estate. Then, a deafening silence envelops the room. Charlotte notices that despite Sierra's doll face, she is looking kind of lonely. 'Cause that's what happens to witchy people. She thinks that Sierra might be lonely because she can't reveal her identity to anyone, so there's no one she can talk to openly except her. But then, she's wrong. Sierra snaps out and bursts her anger and jealousy towards Charlotte. She blamed her for getting engaged to Lancelot, and now both the Emperor and the Duke have taken an interest in House Renault. Wow, jealous much, girl? You wanted to leave everything, remember? Sierra yells about the house that was supposed to fall a long time ago if it weren't for her. Charlotte reminds her that she has chosen the wrong person to get mad at because she should be angry at Vestia. Charlotte this time provokes the princess into saying that she's scared to do that because he doesn't love her. Sierra can't contain her anger anymore, and so she throws the cup on the floor. She even threatens Charlotte into revealing their identity to Lancelot. Wow, the nerve of this woman! But Charlotte is confident that the princess will not do that because they share the same secret. On the other hand, Sierra is silently begging Vestia to look at her. Seriously, he is too good for you, but since you are so wicked, then maybe you are a match after all. Later that evening, Charlotte grabs Lancelot's hand and tells him that she was going to hug him real tight if he said he missed her. Well, of course, our Lancelot here says so just to get a tight hug from his fiancée. I'm done with your public display of affection. Too much. Charlotte likes it when he expresses himself on what he feels. Then he realizes that his past doesn't seem to matter as long as he's with her. But she knows that sooner or later, she will have to tell him the truth. Just another day, with Vestia coming in to deliver the letter of the Emperor who will be attending their magnificent engagement ceremony. Charlotte can't seem to understand how Vestia keeps on pestering her when the Emperor already approved their engagement. But to Vestia, he does not recognize it, and to show that, they have to duel. The Justice of the Sword declares that anyone appointed as a Knight of the Tiaras Empire can raise objections based on their convictions, even if those objections are against the Emperor's orders. Wow, he is really pulling that card. Lancelot steps forward and releases a strong mana which makes the entire mansion rumble and the dishes rattle. He can't let Charlotte fight Vestia into a sword fight, but Charlotte accepts the challenge, saying that he doesn't have to worry about her. She makes a cracking sound out of her knuckles and confidently says that she wants to relieve some of her stress from before. Oh, this is going to be good. Lancelot brings her sword to be used, but before the match has started, she leans to kiss him, but Vestia interrupts their moment. Boo! Charlotte is so annoyed that she overpowered Vestia by her random jabbing. Vestia does not expect her to fight like that, but she does not need any swordsmanship to give him a beating either. She is so angry because of Vestia's character, who is blinded by his own greed and brings misfortune to everyone around him. What's worse is that he's the reason why Lancelot becomes miserable in the novel. With that, her sword glows, and with the swing, Vestia gets badly hurt. Wait, so all along Charlotte has some powers? If it wasn't for Lancelot's protection magic, the mansion would have been damaged. Vestia wants her to use that power again, so he goes all out to corner her, but Lancelot uses his magic to protect her. Charlotte can't show it again because simply, she isn't aware of her powers. Since Lancelot disrupts a one-on-one match, it's Charlotte's loss. But Vestia breaks the rules first. Then, she notices that there's some kind of energy around Vestia's sword. At that moment, Charlotte recognizes the serpent demon, Mephisto. His eyes are as black as the darkness and as hollow as a bottomless pit. Vestia signs a contract with the demon Mephisto. Lancelot covers her eyes so as not to let the demon's energy consume her. Meanwhile, Vestia orders Mephisto to rein back its energy because he will not let it hurt Charlotte. Character development? As cunning as he is, he transforms himself into another Lancelot. Snakes do really have a lot of shedding their skins. Creepy. Lancelot spent his whole life in distress because of the blessing of mana. No matter how beautiful it was, he had no one to show it to. And no matter how strong he was, he had no one to protect. It was a useless power that didn't amount to anything. But not anymore. Now he has Charlotte by his side. Way to go, Lance! He keeps attacking the serpent demon with large amounts of mana until it transforms again into Charlotte. What on earth? Will Lance be able to attack it? Charlotte knows that Lancelot can't attack Mephisto in that form any more than when she hesitated to attack Mephisto in Lancelot's appearance earlier. She dashes into him and swings her sword. Mephisto asks her why she's so angry when she isn't even the real Charlotte. Hearing this, Charlotte stops attacking him. She is sure that Lancelot hears it too. And so she let the demon take her away, or should I say, she followed him into its realm. I don't think that's safe. Charlotte confirms her suspicions that Mephisto is the one behind everything. She bluntly tells him that she saw this coming, which means that he had something to do with Charlotte entering Sierra's body. It also means he had something to do with the reason she woke up in Charlotte's body. But the demon didn't plan for Woori to enter Charlotte's body because its real target all along is Lancelot. The demon is quite amused that despite knowing all that, so Charlotte still follows him. Well, she doesn't need a sword. She clenches her glowing fists and simultaneously punches the serpent demon. You deserve that, you snake! As Charlotte shatters the space trap of the evil Mephisto and frees herself, Lancelot is quick to aid and catch her. While gently hugging each other, Charlotte breathes a sigh of relief while Lancelot expresses his worry about her never coming back. Our sweet Butler has enough trauma already from his loved ones leaving him, so we can't blame him. Charlotte then assures him that she will never leave him and that she'll always come back to him. You better, girl, or we will haunt you. And the reason why she followed Mephisto into the space trap is to use her Candentia power. Candentia is a power of God bestowed upon a human, and it has been passed down to the descendants of House Renault. On the other hand, Mephisto and Duke Vestia disappear and find themselves talking inside the space. Vestia reviews his 3 conditions of their contract. He will become the emperor of the Tierras Empire. He will be able to use the Candentia, and lastly, Charlotte's love will head towards him. Well, sorry, because our new Charlotte is head over heels for Lancelot. Bleh. Speaking of the lovebirds, their day for their engagement ceremony has come. Charlotte and Lancelot are dressed so beautifully for the ceremony. As Lancelot sees Charlotte in her dress, he can't help himself but admire the beauty of his lady. Ugh, look at those eyes Lancelot has for Charlotte. We would totally melt under them in seconds. Charlotte clings to Lancelot's arm as they get going to the ceremony. And OMG, he is blushing. Lancelot, you're such a cutie. Arriving at the venue of their engagement ceremony, Charlotte is fascinated upon seeing the place, making her feel like she's in a fairy tale. Well, she was literally transported into a fairy tale world. Since their event hasn't started yet, Lancelot decides to tour Charlotte to the area first. Lancelot introduces Charlotte to the Forest of the Elves and Fairies and explains that he is able to access the place because elves and fairies are friendly towards magicians. Also, he made a promise to protect the forest for the next 50 years, which surprises Charlotte. So Lancelot explains that the average lifespan of a magician is 150 years. What? That long? I guess the next generations to come will still be lucky to have you, Lancey. Talking about their future years, Lancelot shares with Charlotte his thoughts of spending the rest of his life with her as they hold each other's hands. They are obviously smitten with each other. Their faces draw closer, and just as their lips are about to meet, someone calls for Lancelot. Ugh! Who dares to interrupt their heart-melting moment? Clearly, Lancelot is frustrated and wants to kill the man who called for him at the wrong time. I feel you, Lancelot. It is none other than one of his magicians named Faid. To calm him down, Charlotte promises to give her fiancé a proper kiss later at their ceremony. What a sweet thing to calm someone. The reason for Faid's interruption is to ask Lancelot to lend his power in building the barrier of the forest. Lancelot is hesitant and doesn't want to leave Charlotte behind, but Charlotte persuades him and offers to go with him, so he agrees. Seeing Charlotte dragging Lancelot to set up the barrier, Faid is amazed at their relationship and thinks that it's rare for magicians to find love. He declares that what they have must be true love. Indeed. Arriving at the place where the barrier is being set up, Lancelot reprimands his magicians for not setting up the barrier properly, so he does it himself and casts a barrier. To test his barrier, Lancelot asks everyone to try their magic to break it, but none of the magicians dare to do it, knowing the power he holds. Seeing the situation, Charlotte volunteers to test the barrier. That's a brave girl out there. Lancelot disagrees at first, but eventually gives in to his lady's request. Charlotte summons her Candentia and attacks the barrier. Her attack is so strong that only 4 out of the 200 barriers remain. Woo! I wouldn't dare anger Charlotte with that power she has. While they're talking about her power, another magician shows up, Gallian. He also wants to test the barrier, which puts Charlotte in distress. Charlotte worries that Gallian might be able to break all the barriers, which would be embarrassing for her. Lancelot calms Charlotte down as he holds her hands and gives permission to Gallian to test the barrier. After Gallian tests the barrier, it shows that he couldn't even break through half of it despite being the most skilled magician under Lancelot. It just shows how strong Charlotte's power is, and the reason for Gallian to test the barrier is for other magicians to see Charlotte's worth as their master's lady. Thank you for rooting for our Charlotte, Gallian. You're the best. Lancelot then announces to everyone that he will not tolerate anyone who disrespects and shows rude behavior toward his fiancée. That's so protective of you, Lancelot. Charlotte can't help but get so happy hearing Lancelot call her fiancé in front of everyone that she teases him about it. He's the cutest for real. Lancelot then tells her the importance of making their position clear, since she will also be commanding the magicians once they get married soon. Before Charlotte and Lancelot go on their way, Gallian calls for his master's attention and tells him how he could leave him after what he had done earlier. To give Gallian a reward, Lancelot tells him that a demon might show up in the forest. Gallian is so delighted upon hearing it, since he studies demons. Curiosity piques Gallian about the said demon, so Charlotte introduces him to Mephisto. Turns out, Gallian knows about Mephisto and tells them his full name, which is Mephistopheles. Ooh, our tongue is twisting with that name. Gallian adds that Mephisto is the leader of all demons. Lancelot then orders Gallian to track down Mephisto since Gallian can detect demon energy easily. And the reason for that is that Gallian is half demon. What? Half demon? Good thing he's a demon of good character. Kudos to you, Gallian. After that, Gallian warns Charlotte about using her Candentia power, since her ancestors in House Renault, who had the same power, died young. Oh no, that's horrible news you just delivered. To take responsibility for the words that Gallian just said, he shares with the two the information he acquired about Candentia. He starts by saying that Candentia is a gift from God, and managing it is difficult. The reason why the ones who had the power in the past died so young was due to overusing and improper handling of Candentia. He continues that Candentia needs something to support it, just like how a sword needs a sheath, and that Charlotte must be cautious about using it since it's like poison for her. Lancelot then orders Gallian to obtain more information about the Candentia before he transports himself and Charlotte to attend their engagement ceremony. Before they proceed to the ceremony, Lancelot keeps on reminding Charlotte about dealing with demons. What a very caring man. When asked if he has anything else to say, he answers that she shouldn't use the Candentia anymore. That's when she kisses him to shut him off. Then she tells him that they shouldn't worry about other things and just focus on their engagement day. They promise each other that they'll do everything to be happy together and seal it off with another kiss. They're so sweet, we're getting surrounded by a lot of ants now. We also need some kiss, Lance. The engagement ceremony begins, and Charlotte walks down the aisle, and Lancelot is waiting for her at the end. Walking down the aisle, Charlotte sees Duke Vestia and Princess Sierra as one of the guests. How shameless of them to attend the ceremony. Arriving at the end of the aisle, Charlotte is welcomed by the presence of her fiancé and Emperor Cloud, who will be officiating their engagement. After exchanging their vows, the Emperor is about to officially declare their engagement when the Emperor continues his words, saying that the engagement is null and void. Are you crazy? How dare you declare that? It turns out the Emperor is possessed by the demon Mephisto. You're really getting on my nerves, Mephisto. Ugh. The ceremony is now ruined as Mephisto in the Emperor's body and Lancelot exchange attacks. Charlotte summons a sword with her Candentia and is about to attack Mephisto when Vestia faces her and blocks her sword with his sword too. Vestia explains himself to Charlotte that he can't let the people think that she will be committing treason against the Emperor, especially since she is the woman he loves. Ew, Vestia, you're getting delusional. Charlotte rebuts that the Emperor they're seeing is not the real one when Sierra butts in and vouches that it is definitely the Emperor they are facing. They're conspiring with each other. Charlotte and Vestia exchange attacks with their swords, and Charlotte observes that Vestia's swordsmanship skills have improved and gotten stronger. Vestia blasts an attack at Charlotte that throws her off onto the ground. Meanwhile, Lancelot, who is fighting Mephisto, gets distracted as he sees Charlotte's situation. Mephisto takes advantage of it and lands an attack on Lancelot's body. Oh no, this is bad. Charlotte then assures Lancelot that she's fine, and Lancelot now deflects Mephisto's attacks. Vestia checks on Charlotte and tells her that he is worried about her. He is even smiling as he walks towards her and explains that he can't help but smile as he is looking at someone he loves. This guy is totally crazy. How could he say that he loves her when he just attacked and hurt her? Vestia keeps on talking about how he feels for Charlotte and doesn't give any care if Princess Sierra, his fiancée, hears what he says. What a selfish evil you are, Vestia. Out of nowhere, Lancelot appears after he incapacitated the Emperor's body and throws an attack at Vestia. Vestia bleeds and kneels on the ground. We say he deserves it. Seeing how badly hurt Vestia is, Princess Sierra rushes to his side and hugs him. Sierra summons power and makes Vestia vanish because she doesn't want him to get hurt more. She is really into Vestia, huh? Now she faces Charlotte and Lancelot alone and fights them. Lancelot uses his magic to fly in the air, carrying Charlotte and evading all of Sierra's attacks. As they are floating in the air, Lancelot feels something off with his body, and it turns out to be a demon curse that he got when Mephisto was able to hit him when he got distracted, as Charlotte got hurt in the battle earlier. So Sierra makes a deal with Charlotte. She will lift the curse off of Lancelot in exchange for Charlotte to follow her. Lancelot tries to stop Charlotte from agreeing to the deal, but as his pain from the curse intensifies greatly, Charlotte is left with no choice but to follow Sierra. Oh, the love this girl has for her fiancé that she is willing to sacrifice herself. Lancelot saddens as he expresses that he doesn't want Charlotte to leave him behind. So Charlotte kisses him and binds Lancelot with the promise that their kiss serves as an oath for Lancelot to come and get her, and she will wait for him. As Sierra is about to grab Charlotte, Charlotte stops her and threatens her that she will not follow her unless she heals Lancelot. Sierra disagrees with her condition, but Charlotte threatens her further with her Candentia, so left with no choice, she then heals Lancelot. That's such a very wise move, Lady Charlotte. Charlotte informs Lancelot that he must retrieve her once he recovers from his injuries, as she is being consumed by Sierra's power and shrouded in darkness. Sierra leads Charlotte to a new location, where Charlotte complains about their long walk and demands a change of clothes, which Sierra reluctantly provides. After Charlotte changes, Sierra escorts her to meet Mephisto, who is waiting. Charlotte confronts the demon, expressing her anger over his actions during the ceremony and the harm he caused to Lancelot. Their conversation is interrupted by Sierra, who announces that her task is complete. Mephisto hands her a key, instructing her that it belongs to the fourth room. Sierra rushes to the designated room, unlocks it, and discovers an unconscious Vestia inside. When Charlotte asks Mephisto what's in the fourth room, he responds that Sierra wants to see if her wish came true. Charlotte then asks a follow-up question about what the wish is all about. Mephisto then answers her that it's a secret, saying that she also has some secrets and addresses her by her name in the real world. So, Woori. Oh no! How did this demon know that? Charlotte is dumbfounded upon hearing her real name from the real world. Charlotte then demands an explanation from Mephisto on how she ended up becoming Charlotte in the novel. After a series of arguments, Mephisto starts to tell her the real Charlotte long ago had grown weak after knowing that Duke Vestia broke off the engagement with her, and was even enraged upon knowing that Vestia will be marrying Princess Sierra. Oh. So she became weak from a broken heart. Kinda don't blame her. She tried to put a stop to their marriage with the justice of the sword, but her deep desire and despair called to the darkness, and Mephisto responded to it, which ended up her making a deal with the demon. It is revealed that the real Charlotte borrowed Mephisto's power and persuaded the real Sierra to rest peacefully and entered into a contract with the demon. That's when she took over Sierra's body, desperate to make Duke Vestia hers. It resulted in the real Charlotte's body being empty and happened to absorb a soul that is a great fit for the body, which happened to be so Woori's. How lucky, though, of Woori. Mephisto explains that it all just happened to be by chance. After Mephisto explains the situation, Charlotte is disappointed, thinking that it all happened by chance and that she might end up back in the real world, which saddens her as she thinks she'll leave Lancelot and she can't do anything about it. Charlotte is about to exit the room when Mephisto flashes a series of scenarios happening in the real world to her, and she sees her brother. Mephisto then asks her if she wants to go back to the real world. This looks bad. Another scenario flashes from the real world to Charlotte. It is a scene where a funeral of hers is being held. Mephisto then offers to sign a contract with her. In exchange for her return to the real world, she will give up her candentia to him. Charlotte is conflicted whether to return to the real world or to stay in the novel. So Mephisto persuades her more by telling her that none of the things she has in the novel world belong to her. So she holds the pen and is going to sign the contract. No! Don't get tricked by a demon! As her hand nears to sign the contract, she remembers the memories she has with Lancelot. She snaps and tells Mephisto that there's at least one thing in this world that belongs to her, and it's none other than her Lancelot. Yeah, think of Lancelot. You can't just leave him, It turns out that Charlotte had no intention of making a deal with Mephisto in the first place, and that she was just playing along with his evil scheme. Whoa, you got us there. She continues by swearing on Mephisto's face that she will never give up her candentia. So Mephisto resorts to his last card by trying to kill Charlotte, but Charlotte has realized something from her previous fights with Mephisto, that the demon doesn't need the candentia. Rather, he is afraid of it. So Charlotte defends herself by cutting Mephisto's attacks with her candentia, when a portal behind her opens, revealing Lancelot, who has come to fetch her. When Lancelot was left after Sierra got his lady, he asked his magicians to gather and cast a recovery spell on him. He wants to come and get his fiancée fast. Back to their face-off with Mephisto, Charlotte thanks Lancelot for coming to her. Mephisto is surprised by how Lancelot is able to follow Charlotte in just a short amount of time. Lancelot and Charlotte then vanish from Mephisto and arrive in Charlotte's chamber. To make sure of Charlotte's safety, Lancelot checks if there's any spell cast on her. Lancelot expresses his worries to Charlotte, but Charlotte assures him that all is well, and she doesn't have any regrets with the choices she made. Lancelot then tells her that he'll do anything for her. She just needs to say the word, and he'll make it happen. Oh, to have a man like Lancelot. Hearing this, Charlotte pulls Lancelot into the bed and makes him lie down on it. She then orders him to stay still lying on the bed as she loosens the tie he is wearing. Is this what I think is going to happen? After Charlotte loosens his tie, she slowly pulls his shirt off when suddenly, Lancelot exclaims that he's not yet ready. In sync with Charlotte saying that she'll help him bring down his fever and let him go to sleep. They are not in the same boat. Charlotte tells him that he was getting the wrong idea, but Lancelot justifies that he can't help himself, but thinks that there's something about to happen between them, especially that they're together in her bed. Yeah, right. We thought the same thing too, so we're with you, Lancelot. Hearing his explanation, Charlotte starts to kiss Lancelot. As they become more intimate with each other, Charlotte pushes away Lancelot as she realizes that he's still having a fever. Charlotte is so embarrassed with her situation, but Lancelot calms her. Then he initiates kissing her, and when she brings up his fever, he reasons it out as a mild fever he has because of how much he loves her. That's a good excuse. After Lancelot has fallen asleep, Charlotte goes to the study room to look for something. As she flips through the pages of the book she's reading, she knocks some books off the table. As she is retrieving the books that fell, an image from one of the books catches her attention. Charlotte examines an image of a man seated with another man standing beside him, resembling Mephisto. Surprised, Charlotte questions its validity since only House Renault ancestors are depicted in the book. While reading further, the book's contents mysteriously vanish before her eyes. Amid her confusion, a boy named Arash appears in the study, relieved that Charlotte found the book before its complete disappearance. Arash, an angel with candentia powers, reveals that he has resided in the mansion for quite some time. Arash is kind of a cutie too. An angelic cutie. As they settle down, Arash explains that God is erasing all traces of candentia, causing the text in the book to vanish. The reason behind this is a contract signed by a candentia user involving the real Charlotte and a demon. Arash then reveals to So Charlotte that the heavens brought her into the novel world to restore its order, which has something to do with Lancelot. Arash continues that the ending of the novel that she has read where Lancelot died isn't the real ending. It turns out that during that ending she had read, Lancelot used a forbidden magic, a magic that turns back time, and that everything that has happened in the novel actually happened to her once already. Oh, what a revelation! In Charlotte's chamber, Lancelot wakes up and looks for Charlotte when just moments later, Charlotte greets him. After pondering the things that Arash told Charlotte, Charlotte tells Lancelot that she has something to tell him. Oh no! What is she going to reveal to him? At first, he thought that she was finally going to tell him about her true self. But when Charlotte tells him that they're going to have a child in the mansion, Lancelot is so surprised that he can't hide how red his face is. Forget about her true self. Our dearest sir here is clearly thinking about something else. Earlier that day, Arash explains the effect of Lancelot turning back time. Even though Arash is an angel, angels are forbidden from killing, interfering with contracts formed with demons, and manipulating the human heart. That's the reason why Woori was summoned as the warrior that will carry out God's will. In order to put this world back on its right path, she must kill the demon and give Lancelot her love so he won't make the same mistakes again. The loving part is easy enough, but the rest? Ugh, shivers. But Charlotte is still worried about how Lancelot will react if he finds out that she is not the real Charlotte. No matter how sweet he is to her, she still hasn't forgotten that they aren't for her but for the real one. If only you knew, Charlotte. You're way better than the real one. Arash just smiles, noticing that she does really love him. Setting that aside, Charlotte asks Arash about the missing material on the Candentia, since it's the only way to get rid of Mephisto. Arash assures her he will take care of it. The next day, Arash introduces himself to Lancelot as Charlotte's friend. His wings sparkle in colors, but all Lancelot can think of is that he's not a child, but rather a 100-year-old angel or even more. He looks so cute, though. Charlotte notices that Lancelot is jealous of that fact, even though Arash is not an adult among the angels. So she argues that they just got engaged yesterday and even kissed, so why is he jealous over a kid right now? Yeah, like, haven't you seen yourself, Lance? You are not exchange-worthy at all. Turns out, Lancelot is jealous because, unlike angels, he has no divine power. And even if she let another man into the house on the first day of their engagement, Charlotte didn't even let him finish at this point. She suddenly hugs him, giving him the assurance that she would never look at anyone but him. They are about to kiss when the angel encourages them not to mind him and to just continue to show how much they love each other. Charlotte is now having second thoughts about whether to let him stay in the mansion or not. What is the angel doing? You're ruining the moment! Arash gets out of bed and assures them that he will help her master the Candentia. On the other hand, Sierra is suffering from the curse, the price she has to pay for the contract. On the bed, Vestia is sleeping peacefully. She never thought that he would risk his life and form a contract with Mephisto just for Charlotte. This couple is so tragic, TBH. Arash's eyes sparkle at the sight of the cake. Charlotte thinks it's kind of gross to see him acting like a child despite his age. Hey, if I look that young, it's non-stop acting young too. Meanwhile, she receives a lot of letters from the chaos that happened during their engagement ceremony with the Emperor being possessed and all. Arash butts in the conversation and emphasizes that Sierra and Vestia have gone missing because they must be plotting something while hiding in Mephisto's barrier. While they are scheming off, they can also prepare for Charlotte to master the Candentia, but so far, all he does is eat sweets. Arash just laughs and tells her that they need a bigger space for them to train. Arash then begins talking about the death of previous Candentia users at a young age. At that point, Lancelot grabs Charlotte's shoulders and emphasizes one's addiction to divine power is the cause of their deaths. Arash agrees, telling them that even the most gifted and strong human cannot withstand God's power so easily. With more power comes great responsibility, as Spider-Man says. Lancelot assures Arash that there's nothing to worry since Charlotte won't be using that magic anymore, but Charlotte disagrees. She needs that power. Lancelot can't believe what she said, but he can't interfere either. Since she needs a safe and spacious place where she can increase her immunity and divine power, Lancelot offers her to stay in the magic tower. Drawing her closer to him, he explains that he wants to take her there sooner or later because she seems curious about it. He also wants her to know more about him. Arash, once again, interrupts their moment, so Lancelot teleports him to the kitchen full of snacks. One way to make a child shut up, huh? When Charlotte excitedly takes her leave to pack her things, Lancelot remembers how much he hates the Magic Tower. That place brings back nothing but painful, lonely memories. However, from this moment forward, he has this feeling that it will always remind him of her beautiful smile. She's magical, his miracle, his lady. He wants to be with her forever. How sweet. Later that day at 4 p.m., Lancelot informs the magicians in the Magic Tower that they will arrive tomorrow. And so, he instructs them to prepare everything, and that is all. I bet they will stay up all night to prepare, or else Lancelot will take off their heads. Scary. When Charlotte is done packing her things, Arash suddenly pops out of the blue, startling her. He has to give her some advice about the Roshan. Those blessed with the gift of mana are special. They can use mana freely from birth and can easily befriend elves and spirits. Sounds fine and dandy, right? But unfortunately, they grow up without receiving much love. As a result, they will fall in love with whoever extends a hand towards them first and devote their whole heart to them. Lancelot, as Roshan, is willing to die for love. However, that kind of love can be poisonous, so Arash advises her to be careful about that. That's true, but to have Lancelot love you this much. For a moment, there's a booming silence, but Charlotte pinches him for always interrupting their lovey-dovey moments. She then starts wondering if Lancelot doesn't really remember anything because his eyes make it seem like he knows something, making her feel like her feelings are really for her. Meanwhile, that evening, Lancelot stands by the window thinking about her. One thing's for sure, he loves her and doesn't seem to care what her true identity is. He also wants to protect her in order to not lose her again. Mephisto, Sierra, and Vestia, he wants to forget about them all and leave this place with her. He wants to take her somewhere far away, where no one can find them so that he'll be the only one who can gaze upon her. But will she still smile for him like that? Is this just a trauma response or an obsession? We definitely don't want him to turn out like that. The next morning, Charlotte entrusts the manor and the territory to the head butler and the head maid to take care of the affairs for the time being. She also assures Rupa that she will take care of herself as well. Shortly after, Lancelot tells her to open her eyes while he's carrying her in his arms. They have arrived at the Magic Tower, which is a lot brighter and nicer than she expected. Meanwhile, inside the Magic Tower, the magicians are all beaten down from cleaning the whole place for her. After the training, Charlotte rests on the balcony, mesmerized by the horizon that looks the same everywhere she goes. Suddenly, Lancelot appears behind her and says that the Magic Tower doesn't belong to any country or territory since it's floating above the sea and changes locations from time to time. Charlotte is startled, but Lancelot reminds her that he came to pick her up. She smiles and declares that she's too tired to lift a finger, so she extends both her arms, implying that she wants him to carry her, but immediately takes it back since there are a lot of magicians around. But Lancelot doesn't mind. To be spoiled like this. In the hallway, Charlotte meets the gaze of everyone who is in shock to see the Roshan like that. Can we blame them? That's a public display of affection. Then, Lancelot glares at them, scary enough for them to empty the hallway right away. Looks like everyone has something to do, but he really just scared them off. In her room, Charlotte is sipping her cup of tea. It's been a week since she came, and the method for increasing her immunity and divine power was simple until she reached her limits. But Arash says that she is much stronger than she was in the beginning, stealing away the snacks Lancelot made for Charlotte. Lancelot then asks Arash's help in teaching the magicians to also grow their immunity and divine power. In return, he will give him snacks every day. The reason for this is to prepare in facing off against the demon in case Charlotte is in a constant state of exhaustion. Demons usually invade people's dark thoughts, and that is how Mephisto moved from one host to the other in their engagement ceremony. The magicians do nothing but research day and night, so it would be best to improve their physical strength. Charlotte thinks it's not a bad idea, but the training is tough on the body, even for her, pulling her sleeves to show her injuries. Lancelot glares at Arash, asking if he hurt her. Calm down, Lancelot, they were just training. He sighs, saying that he's already thought of a solution for that. The next morning, the Magic Tower landed on the water after years of floating above it in order for the magicians to improve their physical endurance. Some of them complain at first, asking why Roshan isn't training them himself. Well, Arash tells him that Lancelot might not be able to control his own strength and end up hurting some of them. Do they want him to take his place instead? Of course they don't. Meanwhile, Lancelot brings Charlotte to a place where they can be alone. Charlotte turns around, remarking about how beautiful the place is. She's about to ask where he found it when he suddenly kisses her lips. She didn't see that coming. Finally, they have alone time. In the Garden of Spring, only the Master of the Magic Tower and those with his permission are allowed to enter. Indeed, it is his first time bringing someone there. When he was young, he used to go there whenever he was in distress or having a hard time. Charlotte seems worried about him, but he assures her that it is all in the past and that he has been happy ever since he met her. How can you not swoon? Find me a Lancelot now. However, it's kind of cold there. He is about to fix temperature with magic when Charlotte rests against his shoulder in order for him to hug her. She only wanted him to hug her. Give us hugs too, Lancelot. While they stay like that for a while with his hand on her shoulder, Charlotte can't help but think whether it would have been better if she would have been summoned into the story sooner and met him when he was young. She would have hugged him tightly before he had to go through all the sadness and loneliness. Then, she breaks off the silence, saying that Arash will be mad if he finds out that she ate all the yummy desserts by herself. Suddenly, Lancelot gives her a strawberry cake, her favorite. She pokes the strawberry with her fork and spoon feeds him. He then tells her that whenever she does something this lovable, he is so happy that he doesn't know what to do. Charlotte blushes in denial of what he said, but really, this makes her want to spoon feed him every single meal. Us too. And then, Charlotte assures him that she doesn't want something in return because his presence is enough for her. Lancelot doesn't take his eyes off her as his cheeks turn red. This kind of relationship is so ideal. I want my own powerful magician boyfriend too. That reminds her, she loves strawberries. She's about to mention how it is as good as the ones in her world, but she flinches before she can finish. She almost said too much. She takes a peek at him to ensure he didn't hear it, but he leans over and kisses her on the lips. She is surprised at first, but even with a kiss, she is willing to give back. Who wouldn't kiss his perfect man back? That's like mental. Shortly after, they stroll around the area when Lancelot suddenly asks her a favor. He needs to leave the magic tower for a while, but without her. Charlotte clasps her dress, asking if she can't just come with him. She can't. He's going to find his teacher, the Red Dragon. When Lancelot was young, he was abandoned by his parents and left to live on the streets. But one winter, he met someone, a beautiful but ferocious red dragon named Fatima. Last time, he checked her lair and saw that she wasn't there, so she was probably traveling. She's rather volatile, so it won't be easy to predict where she is. Charlotte realizes why he made all the magicians strengthen their immunity and divine power, so even if the demon attacks, they will be able to defend themselves. Charlotte holds his shaking hands, giving him assurance as she trusts him. The reason why Lancelot wants to find Fatima is to release the portion of his power that is being sealed. In the past, he didn't mind that his power was being suppressed. The fact that he could use magic was a terrible burden on him and wished that he didn't have such abilities in the first place. But all that changed when he met her. He wants to protect her. He kisses her hand, saying that he is willing to accept himself the way he is. His life feels valuable because he has someone who treasures and tells him that she loves him just the way he is. Aww, how romantic of him. Charlotte hugs him, happy that he's starting to accept himself, and it gives meaning to everything she's going through. She's so glad that she fell in love with him. Their love is so strong. Makes us want to fall in love too. Later that night, both of them share a bed as Lancelot tells Charlotte what Fatima is like. There were times when she almost killed him, but she's still family to him. It doesn't seem like it at times, but Fatima has a big heart. Though she left him, he didn't resent her because he was able to meet Charlotte thanks to that. Afterward, she spent every day training. Then one night, Lancelot knocks on her window, waking her up. Turns out he found some traces that Fatima left behind, so he has to go and find her before she moves again. She knows that he'd be leaving, but now that the moment's here, she doesn't know what to say. And so Lancelot asks her to come closer for a moment. He suddenly kisses her cheek. Honestly, I don't even know why the real Charlotte didn't love Lancelot. Like, he is streaming with love. It's obvious what she's supposed to say. She'll be waiting. The next morning, Charlotte wonders where Arash is. She bets he's in the cafeteria, but when she opens the door, Galleon welcomes her, saying that she won't believe what just happened. Charlotte tells him to calm down. For Galleon, this is really big news. It's something that may or may not happen once in 100 years. Well, he invented a pill. Yep, that's it, guys. Be right back. Just kidding. In their time, medicine is usually in powder or liquid, but with his compression magic, one can take the same medicine easily with just a bit of water. Charlotte isn't even impressed because, hello, that's just a pill. But then again, it is something new in this world. Galleon is rather ecstatic about the name pill, so he might as well use it. But more importantly, if this pill succeeds as a business item, it'll help boost House Renault's reputation. Oh, you didn't see that coming, did you, Charlotte? He's super cute. And so, Galleon asks her to go to the library in order to discuss more about it. In there, Arash tells them that there has been a presence of demonic energy yesterday. Charlotte yells at him, but Arash has no choice because the demonic energy at the training grounds is making him sick. However, it is not a demon since Lancelot put up a barrier before leaving, but rather a demon signer. They must have noticed that Lancelot was not around. Of course, they have to let the Roshan know, but well, except for Charlotte, nobody knows that he left the magic tower to look for Fatima. Speaking of Fatima, she is the dragon that watches over time. She started wandering around the world disguised as people of all ages and statuses. However, her violent and unruly behavior always caused trouble in every one of her lives. According to witnesses, she always rode on the back of Hippotes, the shining white horse she had summoned, with her red locks dancing in the wind. Galleon feels bad for himself since Lancelot didn't even take him. Charlotte takes responsibility, so she tries to make it look like Lancelot left him on purpose. And so, Galleon shows his magic tool, a delivery bird named Deli. Then, Arash asks what they're going to discuss. Galleon smiles and suggests they go fox hunting. Meanwhile, Vestia keeps coughing, cursing himself for taking so long to recover. Then, Sierra enters the room with muffins and cream stew that she prepared for him. However, he just smacks it away, saying that he never asked her to do any of this. He even asks her to let him go because he will be looking for Charlotte, the one whom he loves. Her eyes are burning with rage. I mean, why are you angry? You technically asked for this. Duh. She releases her power, cornering him. Then, she leans over and holds his jaw, emphasizing that he shouldn't be confused because she is the one whom he loves. Excuse me, Doc? There's a crazy one right here. Sierra clearly remembers the day when she desperately asked him how he could love her back. Vestia, at the time, told her that there was nothing she could do as long as she was Charlotte Renault. While she surrounds him with thorny vines, she mumbles about how he said it back then. However, Vestia has no idea what she's talking about. He calls her name, but she just keeps on mumbling. She really lost her senses at this point. He thinks that she's not in her right mind, so maybe he can use this to escape, but before he can release his power, Sierra binds all the thorny vines around his body, saying that it's time to eat. There's a sudden chill down my spine. She pushes the spoon in his mouth, but Vestia tells her that she's crazy. She doesn't even argue about it. In fact, she knows. After all, he's the one who drove her crazy. Back in the library, Galleon proposes an idea in order to find the magician who's giving off demonic energy. The magic tower is being protected by barriers and the magicians, so it's unlikely that the demon himself was able to sneak in. That means it was probably one of his signers who left behind the traces. And so, Galleon thought that they should take advantage of the situation. And to do that, Charlotte needs to drink the pill that he invented. If she takes it, she'll start giving off traces of demonic energy, though it isn't real, but just enough to trick the signer. But the pill alone isn't enough. Arash has to distance himself from Charlotte to make it look like she really is the demon signer. Meanwhile, Deli and Galleon will spread rumors about them. Shortly after, Arash asks if she's really going to follow Galleon's plan. Charlotte wants to take the opportunity to ask Mephisto about the portrait in the study, but if it's another demon, then it would be great to bait Mephisto. However, Arash suggests that Galleon himself might have made a contract with the demon. Oh no, he's just so cute and all. He couldn't be a demon signer. Can he? Arash brings up the possibility of Galleon being the traitor. This might be a trap he laid out to get Charlotte alone. But Charlotte denies his assumption. She knows Galleon will never betray Lancelot. This is because she read Galleon's backstory in the novel. Perks of a transmigrator, I tell you. When Galleon was a child, he saw Lancelot perform magic, and as an inspiring magician, he asked Lancelot to teach him. However, Lancelot declined since he was Charlotte's butler at the time. Instead, he gave Galleon a letter of recommendation and a teleportation scroll to the magic tower. Thus started Galleon's journey as a magician. Back to the present, 3 days pass and the plan is moving along successfully. Charlotte had taken the pill and Arash had been avoiding her for the past few days, while Galleon is working hard to spread rumors. In her bedroom, she wonders if Lancelot misses her. She reminisces about their time together and wishes to see his face. She grumbles about how there's no phone in this world and how convenient it would have been if they had one. Long-distance relationships are really hard, huh, Charlotte? She then thinks about what it would be like if Lancelot called her by her real name, but she knows that will never happen. Don't be so sure, Charlotte. Just as she's about to go to bed, she hears a voice calling out to her. She glances out the window and sees Lancelot. Charlotte finds Lancelot in bird form. After going inside the room, Lancelot explains he borrowed Galleon's messenger bird, Deli, to communicate with her. The small black bird is such a cutie. He reprimands Charlotte after hearing the news that she's trying to catch the demon signer alone. Instead of looking scary, Charlotte thinks he's even cuter when he's angry in that form. Right, guys? When she brushes off the topic by offering sunflower seeds, Lancelot is worried she isn't taking this seriously. So he decides to change to a new form. However, he unintentionally changes to a child version of himself. OMG, child version Lancelot is even cuter than a bird! Lancelot asks her again to rethink the plan, but Charlotte is even more distracted by him in that form. When Lancelot realizes what happened and tries to change back to a bird, Charlotte stops him. She gazes at him lovingly, and after gaining permission, she hugs him and then carries him in her arms. Charlotte explains why she's looking for the traitor. She just wants to impress him with her achievement when he gets back. She assures him that she won't do anything dangerous other than capturing him. She then kisses Lancelot to persuade him. Wow, we have a new method for persuasion, I see. He asks if she doesn't mind if he looks like a kid now. Charlotte replies that no matter what he looks like, he'll always still be Lancelot. He then tells her not to forget what she just said. This is actually a hint, Charlotte. He'll love you in any form too. After being lovey-dovey, they lie down and he tells her that he has reunited with Fatima. Fatima asked him why he was looking for her, but Lancelot gave vague answers to avoid Fatima gaining interest in Charlotte and to go looking for her. Charlotte tells him it's fine and that she actually wants to meet Fatima. After Charlotte falls asleep, Lancelot kisses her forehead and promises to return as soon as he can and hugs her. Okay, who feels single right now? I definitely do. In the morning, Charlotte wakes up to find Lancelot gone. Just as she's about to get ready, someone knocks at her door. As it opens, she sees Fayed on the other side. Oh my, don't tell me he's the one they've been looking for. Fayed asks about Charlotte's well-being while giving her a bouquet. As he makes small talk, he mentions Lancelot and his whereabouts. Charlotte replies vaguely and brushes the topic by commenting how much he likes Lancelot with the way he's worrying. Fayed just smiles and says he respects Lancelot a lot. Suspecting something, Charlotte invites him inside to talk more about Lancelot. Not to be judgy, but he is giving sus. After pouring tea, Fayed starts retelling the past. Long ago, before Lancelot came, the Red Dragon was the master of the Magic Tower. With her tyrannical rule, injuries and deaths couldn't be avoided. No matter how bad her temper became, the magicians could only grit their teeth since they relied on her as their master of the tower. However, one day, she suddenly came back bringing a new master with her, namely, our ever-handsome young Lancelot. Due to Lancelot's presence, peace and stability were brought back to the tower, and ever since then, Fayed has been thankful to Lancelot. Even though Lancelot might be disinterested in other magicians, at least he didn't kill them. He's the lesser of the two evils, I see. Charlotte commends Fayed's passion towards the tower, and he replies that he'll do anything for it. How devoted! He then starts talking about the history of the Magic Tower. And kinda a simp for the Magic Tower, lol. A few hours later, Charlotte is reprimanded by birds, who are actually Arash and Galleon. She tells them what happened between her and Fayed, and Galleon tells them he's suspicious. Apparently, it's strange for Fayed to say that when it was the opposite of the current situation. The Magic Tower became even more divided the moment Lancelot became the master. Some magicians oppose his authority, especially since he's always away. They're only staying quiet now because of how strong he is. Stay quiet, haters. Arash suspects either Fayed is lying or Galleon, and Galleon quickly denies his accusation. He further tells them why Lancelot treats Fayed coldly. Just before Lancelot came to the Magic Tower, the strongest candidate to become the master of the Magic Tower was Fayed. When Fatima left Lancelot in the tower, the magicians were debating if they should make a child bear the painful magic circle that symbolizes the Magic Tower's master. It was Fayed who persuaded them to just go ahead with it. If Lancelot was destined to reign over them, he'll be able to endure the pain until he succeeds. Dude, Lancelot is just a kid. How can they put so much pressure and torture such a young child? One morning, Charlotte causes a scene in the cafeteria. She fights with Arash and Galleon before running out. Everyone is shocked to see them fight. It's their first time seeing her act like this. Meanwhile, Charlotte is embarrassed after throwing a fake tantrum. That day, when they were discussing about Fayed, Charlotte didn't want to conclude he's the traitor without getting more evidence. She didn't want to overlook the possibility that Fayed only had different opinions about the Magic Tower situation compared to Galleon. While Charlotte strolls around the garden, Fayed finds her. He consoles her by giving her flowers after knowing she fought with Arash. He then tells her that demons always strike when the person is miserable. His words are really suspicious. A week passes and Charlotte's room is full of flowers. Fayed has been following her so often it feels like he was obsessed with her. Annoyed by his constant tailing, Charlotte debates whether to just confront him. Speaking of the devil, someone knocks at her door. Thinking it's Fayed, Charlotte opens it and tells him not to give her more flowers. However, the person outside is someone else. He informs her that Fayed passed out after being exposed to too much demonic energy. Charlotte decides to go and check up on Fayed when the guy grabs her. Hold up! How dare you touch her like that? Let her go! Just as Charlotte tries to remember who he is, the guy reveals himself as Norman Mataha, while black demonic spiders crawl out of his hand. The plan worked! Charlotte quickly yanks her hand away and remembers the name Mataha. It was one of the nobles that sided with Duke Vestia. Norman confirms he's from the Mataha household. He's been trying to find a chance to speak with Charlotte, but Fayed kept getting in the way. Now that they're alone, he wants to talk about her demon. However, he stops in the middle of his sentence when he notices there aren't traces of demonic energy around her. Shocked, he grabs her shoulders and asks what's going on. Suddenly, a loud thud echoes. Suddenly, thick vines spring out from Charlotte's room and restrain Norman. Charlotte picks up a petal and knows it must have been Fayed who helped her. Oh, so now we understand why he keeps giving flowers. Norman exclaims that he will never tell her his secrets, but Charlotte doesn't care. She promised Lancelot that she wouldn't do anything dangerous besides finding the traitor. But of course, she at least had to give him one strong punch. Go, Queen! Tell them what happens if they betray you. After knocking him out with one solid uppercut, Fayed appears. He then takes on the responsibility of taking care of the traitor. His plants are so cute. They're actually wriggling in excitement. At that moment, Galleon arrives with Arash in bird form. They witness Fayed using his plants to torture Norman for information. So far, Norman already told Fayed which demon he signed with and that his goal was to gain more power through Charlotte's demon. After dealing with the demon signer, Charlotte asks Fayed why he helped her when she's Lancelot's fiancé. She tells him how she knows he would have been the Magic Tower's master if it hadn't been for Lancelot. Fayed confesses that he once had bad thoughts like that before, because all his life he had been working to become the Magic Tower's master. Then suddenly, a small child appeared and took that position away from him. Even I would have been bummed out if what was meant for me was suddenly taken away. However, soon Fayed realized as long as someone could do a great job of leading the Magic Tower, then his dreams were as good as realized. Fayed became even happier when Lancelot had Charlotte. Because of her, Lancelot's been using top-quality magic to protect the Magic Tower. Thus, he concluded that Charlotte is the key to making the Magic Tower prosper. You know what? He's actually quite a cutie. Fayed even concludes as long as Charlotte is happy, their master will also be happy. So he advises Charlotte to just focus on loving Lancelot while he does the dirty work for them. Aww, he's even a bigger shipper than us, LOL. Meanwhile, at Mephisto's side, Sierra demands Mephisto to kill the fake Charlotte. But Mephisto says he can't with Charlotte's current power and protection. Desperate, Sierra suggests sending Charlotte's soul back to her own world. Oh my gosh, can't you just stop being so selfish? Wake up, girl! That Duke won't ever look at you! Sierra finally frees Duke Vestia. He asks her why the sudden change of heart, and Sierra replies her goal isn't to lock him up but to keep him safe. She asks if he still doesn't understand her love for him, and he just replies that it's repulsive. Sierra voices out her pain. Even though she loves him, his words can still hurt her. I actually feel sorry for her. In all 2 lives, all she wanted was his love. Duke Vestia replies that he only agreed to her proposal to achieve his goals. It's useless to ask him for more when he doesn't like her. That's why he'd rather hurt her to make her give up on him. As he walks out, he advises her not to do any more deals with the demon, or else she'll lose herself. After the Duke leaves, Sierra looks down. It's already too late. Most of her body is covered in dark spots after repeated dealings with Mephisto. The things we do for love. While Duke Vestia leaves, he sees Mephisto downstairs. Mephisto offers to send him home, but the Duke rejects it. He's even tempted to break off their contract after all that's happened, but Mephisto warns him against it. If he breaks off the contract, both of them will suffer consequences. Mephisto assures him that he'll get everything he asked for, the throne and Charlotte Renault's love, as long as he patiently waits. Don't listen to him! He's a scammer! While at Lancelot's side, he complains about how Fatima keeps sending him to do pointless tasks without using magic. When she mentions Charlotte, Lancelot confesses that he really loves her. That's why he's in a hurry to remove the restraints on his powers and protect his beloved. He asks Fatima why she keeps stalling when she can just remove it right away. Unbeknownst to Lancelot, Fatima can see everything, especially his condition. His mana is weirdly twisted and erratic that it wouldn't be strange if he becomes insane. His willpower to protect someone is probably the only thing holding him back from falling into that state. Is this a sign of true love? Aww. Fatima is curious about the person keeping Lancelot at bay. She gives him another errand and promises to give him back his powers after he finishes this last one. Satisfied, Lancelot leaves, but Fatima smiles mischievously as she readies to leave. When Lancelot returns to the shack, Fatima is gone. She left a note saying she's off to meet Charlotte. Wait, is this a meet the parent situation? Meanwhile, Charlotte helps out the Magic Tower by selling fruit skewers during their market event. Galleon tells her she doesn't need to participate, but Charlotte replies she enjoys doing things like these. Galleon leaves Charlotte alone for a while to help out Fayed. And at that moment, Arash arrives to order 100 skewers. How can someone so small eat so much? What a glutton angel indeed! After Arash orders everything, Charlotte had to leave to buy more ingredients. As she walks, she finds a little girl crying. She approaches her and asks if she's lost. The girl shows her face and nods. Hey, that's Fatima in child form! Charlotte buys her ice cream and helps her find where her parents are. Charlotte assures her she'll find them. She has lots of friends that can help her. Fatima asks if one of those friends is her boyfriend, and Charlotte chokes on her spit. She then explains that her boyfriend is away and unknowingly starts complimenting him. Fatima asks her if she loves him too, and Charlotte affirms it. She further asks Charlotte why she's being dishonest if she loves him. This question alarms Charlotte. She moves away from the kid and demands that she reveal her identity. To be honest, Fatima's question is legit. Have courage and tell him the truth, girl. Fatima asks Charlotte if she won't regret asking her to reveal herself. Because the last time Fatima revealed her true form, she burned half of the kingdom to the ground. After hearing those words, Charlotte concludes the kid is Lancelot's teacher. She then asks where Lancelot is. Fatima assures her he's okay. He'll be there soon since he has something he needs from her. Whether she gives it back or not, it will depend on Charlotte. Suddenly, Fatima jumps over Charlotte and touches her head. Charlotte cries out in pain and asks her what she has done. And Fatima just replies it's a test while looking back at Charlotte, who has returned to her own original appearance. I'm actually happy that this test happened. Are they finally going to be honest with each other? Fayed and Galleon wait for Charlotte. Galleon starts worrying when the sun has already set and Charlotte is still absent. While they talk, Lancelot arrives and overhears their conversation. Yay! Our hubby is back! He asks them to repeat what they said, and Galleon explains what happened. Fayed tries to assure him that she's probably late because she's looking around the area. However, Lancelot starts shooting red, erratic energy. In a threatening voice, he asks him if they made Charlotte do menial tasks and lost her along the way. His entire aura turns even darker, and the whole place is enveloped with his dark, lightning energy. This is probably what Fatima meant when he's on the verge of insanity. Just as Lancelot is about to burst, Fatima arrives. Lancelot quickly asks Fatima to bring Charlotte back. He'll even forget their initial promise as long as she brings back Charlotte. Fatima replies that she hasn't done anything to Charlotte. The only other reason why she's not here is because she's hiding. Lancelot denies that, saying Charlotte would never leave him. Fatima suggests he go looking for her. If he truly loves her, it will be easy enough to find her. Just as Lancelot leaves, Fatima asks him if he really doesn't want his powers back, and Lancelot replies that he didn't need it if he can't protect Charlotte now. Okay, who feels single part 2? Lancelot had always been afraid that Charlotte would suddenly disappear, and he knew Charlotte was always afraid of something too. He regrets not asking her. He should have hugged her and made her feel secure before he left. As Lancelot looks for Charlotte, Faed asks if they should help him, but Fatima stops them. Only Lancelot is capable of finding Charlotte, and he has to do it himself. She's probably talking about the test she made. Meanwhile, Charlotte is worrying about what to do. She doesn't know when she'll turn back or how. But in the meantime, she'll just hide and think things over. However, at that moment, she catches a glimpse of Lancelot. After seeing Lancelot's back, Charlotte steps forward, but she suddenly chickens out and runs away. She hides away, her complicated feelings tearing her up. She misses him so much, but she worries what his reaction will be if he finds out the truth. I can understand, especially since you think Lancelot loves the real Charlotte and not you. After a while, she finds a guy that looks similar to Lancelot and concludes that she must have seen it wrong. Charlotte decides to stop hiding since no one knows her in this form anyway. As she walks, she witnesses a man causing a scene. He accuses 2 children of stealing from him while the children cower and say it was him who stole from them. Just as the guy is about to hit them, Charlotte suddenly whacks his knee with hers. Surprised, the guy falls and screams at Charlotte. She apologizes and then takes out a gold coin from under his foot. She gives it back to the kids while the man is being judged by the bystanders. Feeling embarrassed, the man reaches for Charlotte's hair. Charlotte freezes, but instead of feeling pain, Lancelot arrives and grabs the man's hand. Hubby to the rescue! He asks the man what he was about to do to his fiancée while crushing his arm. The man quickly apologizes, but Lancelot tells him to apologize to the right people. After that fiasco, Charlotte tries to leave, but Lancelot stops her. She pretends not to know him and that she has to leave since her companions are waiting for her. Wait, did you not hear him call you fiancé? Lancelot is torn. He wants to hug her and tell her not to run away, but seeing her so afraid to reveal her identity, Lancelot holds back and pretends alongside her. As Lancelot composes himself, he offers her his help. Charlotte tries to decline, but old habits die hard. She's been so used to hearing him call her Miss that she unintentionally reached out to his outstretched hand. Charlotte asks why she needs to hold him when Lancelot suddenly uses magic to float them above. With a soft expression, he assures her it won't be scary, and slowly they float away. Okay, is this a new version of A Whole New World? Fatima is seen instructing Deli to deliver a small box to someone. She expresses that she'll leave the rest to them and put an end to her long hunt. Turning back to Lancelot and Charlotte, they're flying in the air. She hugs him, admitting that she's scared, so he immediately searches for a place to land. Upon landing on a tall structure, he asks her what she thinks about the place. However, she is lost in thoughts about her appearance and unconsciously touches her face while he stares at her. When she questions why he keeps staring, he points out that she repeatedly touches a certain part of her face, startling her. Charlotte then nervously explains that she has a beauty mark on her face and that it feels nice to touch it. Unexpectedly, Lancelot asks if he can touch it, to which she agrees without thinking. While she's internally panicking, he gently brushes his hand against her face, feeling the mark she told him about, and confirms to her that it does feel nice. OMG, I would die just to be under his touch, and that gentle expression in his eyes would surely melt anyone. Taken aback, Charlotte excuses herself from him, saying that she needs to find her companion. When they look below, they spot the 2 kids they helped earlier. He asks her about her relationship with the kids. She then explains that she just met them and helped them because they reminded her of herself when she was little. Furthermore, she recalls her time in her real life when she was left alone with her older brother. Overwhelmed, she ends up sharing more information about her real self. When she realizes what she just blurted out, she gets embarrassed and stops talking, lost in her thoughts. Suddenly, Lancelot gets her attention and draws himself near as he expresses his interest in hearing more about her. He is so charming. Anyways, Charlotte pushes him and asks if this is how he acts with others, thinking about the novel she read. She's upset that Lancelot is sweet with another girl. Girl, he is just sweet with you, okay? She gets more flustered as she sees his loving expression while he looks at her. She then exclaims that he should stop looking at her with such a look and adds that if he looks at everyone like that, they'll fall in love with him. So true. I mean, he's not even looking at me, but I think I'm in love with him already. In Lancelot's defense, he explains that he doesn't look at everyone like that, but only at the person he treasures, addressing her the way she calls the real Charlotte. She can't believe what she just heard from him and is confused about how and when he learned the truth about her identity. Seeing her reaction, he holds her hand and assures her that she doesn't need to be scared. He wants to be by her side, no matter what she looks like. You guys, I'm melting. Charlotte can't understand her feelings and is flooded with overwhelming emotions for Lancelot. After a moment of silence, she asks him when and how he knew. He answers by recalling the time he discovered she wasn't the real Charlotte. She then asks him why he never said anything despite knowing all along. Scary thoughts flood her mind, and she has no idea how she'll react to what she just learned. She's so scared and confused, wondering if she should laugh it off or apologize. Just then, Lancelot answers that he's scared she'll leave him. He explains he's been in love with her since the moment she allowed him to stay by her side. She can't believe that despite knowing her identity, he still fell in love with her. Seeing the nervous and anxious expression on her face, he tells her that everything she did and every word she spoke is precious to him. Slowly, he holds her hand and gently kisses it, expressing that he doesn't care about her appearance and pleading for her not to leave him. Oh, our dear Lancelot would be totally broken if Charlotte were to leave him. Suddenly, she emotionally hugs him and exclaims that there's no way she'd ever leave his side. Crying, she tells him that she was also afraid he'd be disappointed once he found out that she was just a nobody. She explains that his treatment made her want to keep pretending, afraid that the truth would change his feelings. Sobbing, she tells him that she's loved the way he smiles at her and none of the things she said to him were lies. She repeats that she'll never leave him and then mumbles that unless he doesn't want her around anymore. Girl, our dear Lancelot is so into you already. If only we could take your place and steal your Lancelot. But you deserve each other, so we won't interfere. #shippers. Lancelot responds by squeezing her tightly and assures her that it will never happen. He wants her to always be by his side. How romantic. Later, Lancelot asks if he can look at her, but she refuses, embarrassed from crying and comparing herself to the real Charlotte. Lancelot, as sweet as he is, replies that since he saw her real appearance, she always looked the same in his eyes. He doesn't mind how she looks now. Suddenly, they are interrupted by Deli delivering the box that Fatima sent. Upon opening it, they see a stick, which he names a Lily cookie. Well, in the real world, it's just a pink Pocky stick. Meanwhile, Charlotte ponders that in fairy tales, a true kiss breaks the spell. After reading Fatima's note saying that they should share the cookie, she realizes what they have to do and stops Lancelot from breaking the cookie in half. As fireworks begin to color the night skies, they share the cookie by both taking bites from each end. The beauty of the fireworks in front of them mirrors the intensity of the emotions fluttering between them as their faces draw closer while eating the cookie stick. Slowly, their eyes close, their lips touch, and they become lost in their own worlds. OMG, sweetness overload alert. Does anyone else want to share a cookie stick with me? Oh. After they kiss, she transforms back into her real Charlotte appearance. Lancelot then comments that he wants to see more of her true appearance, which earns a grunt from her. She asks if her real appearance is his ideal type. But he replies that it doesn't matter to him what she looks like. He's confident that he can find and recognize her no matter her appearance. He adds that she shines so much. I want someone to see me this way too. Is my Lancelot being delivered already? Oh. When she disagrees, saying she's just pretty plain, he responds that it might be because she can't see the color of her own soul. He's saddened as he continues that he's not the only one who can see it. What do you mean, our sweetie Lancy? Meanwhile, at House Renault, Rupa faces off with Duke Vestia, who doesn't believe her claim that Charlotte isn't home. This angers him. She even tells him that even if Charlotte were home, the lady wouldn't want to see him, further infuriating him. We love how badass Rupa is. So the Duke walks away and tells her that he'll be back. While riding his carriage, he ponders how Rupa acted towards him and that he could easily punish her. But then he thinks that if Charlotte finds out about it, she will hate him even more. He feels odd realizing that he's now concerned about how Charlotte thinks of him. He then recalls the first time they met as children. Initially, he didn't believe she was the best swordsman from House Renault. It was only when she defeated him in a sword fight that he acknowledged her incredible skill. After she told him about her feelings as a swordsman and her title, he felt jealous because he thought she had everything he wanted. Young Charlotte then continued, telling him she didn't need anything she possessed because all she needed was him. Duke Vestia's jealousy turned to anger, and he wanted to take everything away from her. However, all of this changed when he met the new Charlotte. Duke Vestia continues to recall the time he asked Charlotte about Candentia. When she answered, she didn't reveal that she was the qualified one to use it, fearing he might hate her if he knew. As he learns more about Candentia, he can't imagine Charlotte possessing such power. Curious about what Candentia looks like, he imagines it must be beautiful and desires to see it one day. The night he saw Charlotte with Lancelot at the ball, he was surprised by a close look in her eyes and wondered if her eyes had always been deep blue. He questioned why he hadn't noticed before, given that her eye color was what he wanted to see. Back in his carriage, Duke Vestia ponders what has come over him that he now desires Charlotte. He questions what he wants from her and realizes that all he wants is to see her smile at him, even just once. Our Duke Vestia is surely smitten by the new Charlotte, huh? If he had a good attitude, I might have liked him too, but not as much as our handsome Lancelot, though. In the Magic Tower, Fatima welcomes Lancelot and Charlotte. Seeing their glares, she assures him that she won't do anything to harm them. Charlotte asks Fatima if she won't change her appearance again, and she assures her she won't. Fatima teases Charlotte about what she's afraid of when she and Lancelot know each other's feelings, and her looks won't matter anymore. Charlotte rebuts that it's not about her looks, but her capability to use her power, and she points out that what she learned is that Fatima will not return Lancelot's power. To their surprise, Fatima tells them she's going to return his power. She explains a test she conducted on them was to decide whether she would give back Lancelot's power. She just wanted to confirm that they were truly in love with each other. Suddenly, Fatima summons a bright, round red light, saying that now she's confirmed the truth, Lancelot can handle his power. She commands Lancelot to take his shirt off, shocking Charlotte. But she's even more shocked when he nonchalantly agrees to do so. Can you please hurry up and take that shirt off? We want to see what's under that shirt. Lancelot then explains to Charlotte that his shirt might hinder the power absorption. How about the pan? Just kidding. Flustered, she looks at Fatima, unsure of what to say. Fatima then asks if Charlotte would like to be the one to give the power to Lancelot. Carefully handling the power from Fatima, Charlotte turns to Lancelot. He starts to take his shirt off, revealing his bare upper body. I think we need some water. Lancey's body is just so hot. Just look at those well-toned abs he has. So back to Charlotte. She places the power on Lancelot's chest. Their eyes lock as he absorbs the power from her, her hands pressed against his chest. Just after the power is absorbed into his body, they seal the moment with a kiss. Can we switch places with you, Charlotte? Just this time, please? We want to transport in the novel badly, too. After Lancelot regains his full power, he develops a fever and needs to rest. When he wakes up, he calls for Charlotte, who is by his side. He wants to return to his room, but she convinces him to sleep in her bed so that when he wakes up, he can see her immediately. Blushing, he agrees and falls back to sleep. Good boy. Later, Fatima knocks on Charlotte's door, and when she opens it, Fatima asks if Lancelot is still asleep, which she confirms. Fatima then asks for a favor from Charlotte. She wants Charlotte to use her Candentia on her, surprising Charlotte. Fatima says that she wants to see if her immunity against divine power is still strong and adds that she has something else to check too. Charlotte disagrees, deeming it dangerous, but Fatima questions why she's worried when she's a dragon. Charlotte responds that she worries since she considers her a family member to Lancelot, shocking Fatima. You basically raised him, Fatima. Of course you're family. Suddenly, Fatima summons a dagger while saying she's sure she won't get hurt by Charlotte and throws the dagger at her. Charlotte still refuses, but Fatima tempts her by offering a portrait of Lancelot as a cute child if she complies. That's honestly a really good offer. Can we have one too? This prompts Charlotte to accept, and she attacks Fatima with her candantilla using the dagger she received. When Fatima is attacked by the candantilla, an image of a man apologizing to her flashes. Who is this man? Charlotte quickly checks on Fatima, asking if she's okay. Clenching her wounded fist, Fatima replies that she's fine and commends Charlotte. Meanwhile, at the Imperial Palace, Sierra barges into the Emperor's chamber. She confronts the Emperor, telling him he deserves his pain. Moments later, he accuses her of not being the real Sierra. She then reveals her true self as demon snakes from her back show and she starts choking him. The Emperor questions her about her real sister's whereabouts, and she replies that the real Sierra no longer exists. She blames him for neglecting her sister, leading to her lonely demise, which she exploited. Choking him harder, she reveals that the one she loves desires his position, so she'll give it to him. This girl is absolutely horrifying. In the Magic Tower, Fatima checks on Fayed and Galleon. Seeing that Fayed has reached his limit, she decides to take over their task of casting a barrier on the tower to protect against demons. While Galleon is now carrying the exhausted Fayed, he asks if it's okay for her to take over and trouble her. She assures him it's fine since she hates demons more than anything. Left alone, Fatima examines the barrier's formula. She comments that it's much better than when she first taught Lancelot to cast a barrier, recalling her past memories with him. She also reminded and warned him about demons in the past. Look at that little Lancey! He's such a cutie! Returning to her current state, she looks at her hand hit by Charlotte's candantilla and thinks it feels just like that day. A childhood memory flashes with a man calling her and remarking on the beauty of the light surrounding them. She then calls him Casper. She becomes emotional, missing his light and reminiscing about their story. She reveals that the love between Casper and her was short-lived, but the days she spent missing him felt so long. OMG, it seems like Fatima's love story is quite interesting. What could have happened between her and Casper? On the other hand, Lancelot touches Charlotte's face as they lie next to each other on the bed. Her sleep is interrupted by his touch, and she gets up to face him. He asks if she was by his side the whole time, which she confirms, as she promised he'd see her face as soon as he woke up. With a gentle expression, he leans in and kisses her forehead, expressing his gratitude. Suddenly, she feels back pain due to her sleeping position, and he apologizes. She quickly reassures him and suggests they take a walk to alleviate her discomfort. Under the beautiful moonlight, they walk together outside. After a while, he holds her hand and promises that now that he has all his powers back, he won't send her into danger or leave her again. Worried, she mentions that the princess and the demon might be plotting something and cites the fate of the real Charlotte. She continues that it might not be easy for him to confront the real Charlotte, but he assures her it's all right, as he's prepared to face and fight her. Later, he mentions having one concern. He still doesn't know her real name. Startled, she reveals that her name is Woori, after some convincing from him. When he starts addressing her as Woori, she becomes flustered and nervous. Then, unexpectedly, some demon snakes appear and she expresses that there's something wrong with her heart. Oh no! Meanwhile, a conversation between Mephisto and Sierra unfolds. Sierra commands Mephisto to send Woori's soul back to her original world, willing to sacrifice anything for it. He replies that she can pay with her original body, as she's its rightful owner. As they seal their deal, a memory of Mephisto is revealed where Fatima is seen with Casper on her lap as the world burns around them, thinking that those favored by God are also weak, which fuels his desire to ruin everything. Mephisto must have played a significant role in Fatima and Casper's story. Suddenly, Arash awakens with a realization that the events he saw were a premonition. He understands that Charlotte is in danger. Back to Charlotte and Lancelot, he is filled with worry as he senses demonic energy from her. When he attempts to remove the energy, it causes her pain. He realizes the curse is ingrained in her body, and removing it would be excruciating for her. He then thinks and suggests a solution. He starts a barrier around them and asks her to fill it with her candantia. Confused, she questions this. He explains that by using her power to trap the demonic energy within the barrier, she can suppress the demon energy. Lancelot assures her that he'll help, hugging her gently and planting a kiss on her forehead. As they embrace, she summons her candantia. Despite the burning sensation, he doesn't let go of her. Oh, such a man Lance is. At daybreak, Arash wakes Lancelot, who is asleep under a tree, with Charlotte sleeping on his lap. When Lancelot asks what happened to her, Arash says she's safe for now, and suppressing the energy with her candantia was a good move. Arash reveals he received a revelation that the demon will arrive soon. After laying Charlotte on her bed, Lancelot and Arash discuss the incident. Arash deduces that the princess agreed to trade her real body to the demon. He asks Lancelot what happened and about Charlotte telling him her real name. Arash considers that Sierra's wish might be tied to Charlotte's true identity and wonders where her soul might be. Meanwhile, Charlotte's soul is lost on a beach. As she wanders, she yearns to return to Lancelot. She hears a voice shouting and sees the face of Mephisto from the old book at her house, surprising her. Then, she hears another voice and finds Fatima, leaving her utterly confused. "We're as confused as you are, Woori." A conversation between Fatima and human Mephisto ensues. It turns out that Mephisto is Casper's twin, and he's resentful of Fatima's love for Casper. OMG, so it's a love triangle between Casper, Fatima, and Mephisto. Mephisto clenches his sword and yells Fatima's name. She challenges him, addressing him as Hevron, and asserts he won't defeat her. So his human name is Hevron, huh? Moments later, Hevron kneels on the ground with blood all over him. Fatima stomps on him, insulting him further and highlighting his habit of blaming the gods for not choosing him. Looking down at him, she points out he's inferior to Casper in every way. After a barrage of arguments and insults, he's left alone on the shore, questioning what he's supposed to do then. His thoughts revolve around Casper being loved by everyone, especially by Fatima. He believes that no matter how strong he becomes, he'll never possess the same power as a human. Suddenly, the demonic snake energy emerges and everything is enveloped in darkness. Oh, so this is his villain story. He's so much like the real Charlotte. Frustrated, Charlotte wonders what happened next to Mephisto, considering if she just witnessed his past. She ponders what makes a demon a demon. Later, she questions herself about where she's supposed to go. In a blink of an eye, Soul Woori gets lost in the darkness after being in the body of Fatima. In the darkness, she loses all sense of direction and doesn't know where she's heading. Not until she hears a voice that tells her she's just a mere outsider and she doesn't belong in that world. Still, Soul Woori doesn't fall for Charlotte's manipulation. Woori affirms to live in the same world with Lancelot because she already has his assurance that he will stay no matter what she looks like, and still stays despite knowing the truth. Charlotte, with her devilish smile, continues to threaten Woori, while inside, she longs to restore order. Woori's distress grows as her body begins to fragment. Lancelot and Arash wait, knowing Woori's soul is adrift. They plan to guide her back by triggering a powerful emotion. Suddenly, a loud clack at the window signals Fatima's arrival. She holds a frame, claiming to have an idea related to Arash's suggestion. According to her, stimuli can be felt even in sleep. Understanding her plan, Lancelot begins to protest, his disapproval evident. Unbeknownst to him, Fatima whispers to Woori, revealing a portrait of Lancelot as a child. As expected, Woori reacts hysterically, surprising Lancelot and Arash. Who would have thought that her greatest unfulfilled wish would wake her up? Woori keeps admiring the little Lancelot since receiving the portrait. Meanwhile, Lancelot is confused as to when she started asking for a thing. Woori awakens to learn she's been unconscious for 2 days. She recounts her dream of her body shattering, but Arash reveals it was real. Charlotte signed away Woori's body to a demon, separating her soul briefly. Arash warns of more trouble ahead. As memories of her past world bring pain, Woori frets, but Lancelot stays, offering comfort. Fatima agrees with Arash's assessment that Woori's connection to their world is weakening. Woori's anger flares towards Princess Sierra, fearing it will ruin what she built with Lancelot. Lancelot, concerned for Woori, worries about her suppressing her past to prevent soul-body separation. Though he assures her, Lancelot refuses to watch her suffer. He's ready to start a war to protect her. What are you willing to do? Surprised, Woori can't believe he would declare war. However, there's still a doubt within her if it's the right thing to do for someone like her. Of course, that man is in love, so he is willing to do that. After a while, Lancelot reports to Woori that he looked into what the imperial family was doing while she was asleep. Turns out, Princess Sierra took over the emperor's position after his death. However, she wasn't ready to take over the throne, so she suggested that it should be someone who could do a better job than her. Without hesitation, she claimed the throne to be given to her fiancé, Duke Leonard Stinger Vestia. So when the princess made that declaration, all the parties on Duke Vestia's side pledged their allegiance to her. Hence, the alliance between Count Khalid, Marquess Mataha, and Duke Vestia was formed. They joined forces, and afterwards, House Reinault was accused of treason. Woori expects that she can prevent it from happening when she gets engaged to Lancelot, but it seems to her that House Reinault might really be framed for treason, just like in the novel. Lancelot also notices that Duke Vestia is behaving strangely and has been visiting their manor persistently. Upon hearing the news, Woori impulsively moves to return to the manor, but Fatima stops her, offering a gift. In a tiny blue box lies a sparkling ring. Lancelot's intense gaze tries to halt Fatima, but she insists he slides the ring onto Woori's finger. Surprisingly, the moment it's on, Woori feels no more pain. Curious, Arash ran towards them to stare at the ring. Shock is evident on their faces when Fatima reveals that it's her wedding ring. At first, Woori declines, but Fatima assures her, saying that her husband died on their wedding day. Their jaw drops upon hearing it from her nonchalantly. Out of curiosity, Arash asks about her husband's identity since the ring has divine power in it. The light reminds him of the Candantias. Fatima proudly tells him about her husband, who is just an ordinary human, clumsy but kind. His smiling face reminds her of the moon. I kind of want someone to describe me like this. It turns out Fatima's husband was Lord Casper. There was even a time when a maid put the bucket in the wrong place, so Casper got his clothes ruined, yet he was okay with it. The maid considered him as a nice person, unlike his twin brother, Hevron. In a gloomy atmosphere, Hevron awaited Casper, who arrived late with a box of pie. Casper's cheerful demeanor changed when he heard chains rattling inside the prison. His smile turned to shock upon seeing Fatima, a red-haired child chained inside. They panicked as Fatima unleashed fiery anger, threatening them both. Hevron revealed her as a red dragon, far from ordinary. Too bad for her, she was just having fun at the human festival until she got caught. Hevron wanted her permission for their household to serve her, so he tried to bribe her with jewels. Initially, she declined, not trusting Hevron, the one who had put her in chains. Hevron ordered the butler to release her, but hesitance arose due to her being a dragon. Hevron threatened the butler with his sword for hesitating. Casper stepped forward, volunteering to unchain her. Despite her fury, his kind voice and apologetic expression stopped her from attacking. After he freed her, he introduced himself respectfully. Meanwhile, Hevron is already grinning sarcastically with what he witnessed. He knew that Casper is always good at winning people over. Unlike you, Hevron! When she got out, Hevron still pushed through with the proposal, but she still declined. Not long after, Fatima smelled the pie Casper baked. She happily munched it, then proceeded to compliment Casper. Once more, Hevron tried to bribe her, offering sweets from a renowned pâtissier. Learning that Hevron and Casper were brothers surprised her. She agreed to the proposal only if Casper would bake her desserts thrice daily. Honestly, I probably would request the same. Hevron extended his hand to guide her out, but she chose to grab Casper's instead. Then she whispers a warning to him about his brother, who had a teleportation scroll, so he was planning to escape on his own if anything went wrong. The next thing he said surprised her. He already knew about it, yet his face still looked kind. Going back to the present, Fatima still has this admiration towards Casper while she tells them about him. Suddenly, Woori comes up with a realization when she recalls the name Casper Reinault. Then Fatima confirms that he is indeed Charlotte's ancestor and the first user of the Candantia. Fatima rushes to grab Woori's hand the moment she mentions that he had silver hair and blue eyes like her. Fatima was hopeful. She thought Woori might be able to see him. She lets her borrow the ring in exchange for a favor. Mephisto, the demon Woori has been dealing with, turns out to be Hevron, and she wants Woori to hand him over to her. Later that day, Woori and Lancelot browse books for the manor. Woori brings up Fatima's past husband, a revelation to both of them. Lancelot realizes the significance. Fatima's connection to House Reynaud explains her special role as a signer for Mephisto. Fatima probably spent her life wandering about in search of that demon. However, it left him wondering why she didn't kill him earlier. When Woori is about to tell him about her realization, she accidentally slips from the stairs. Luckily, Lancelot swiftly catches her, surprising Woori. In his arms, they exchange compliments and sweet words, making each other blush and giggle. Woori surprises Lancelot with a kiss on the cheek, leaving him stunned. They share a moment of happiness, locking eyes before leaning in for a kiss on the lips. Okay, guys, stop it! I'm getting envious! Moments later, Woori is lying down while her head is on his lap. Then she remembers something when she first wore Fatima's ring. She reveals that she saw Fatima's past. What Woori saw was a place on fire, and Casper was in tears while holding a sword with blood on it. He was trying to stop Fatima from killing Hevron because he's the only brother he had. Despite Fatima's revelations about his brother's betrayals, Casper still attempted to stop her. Eventually, they agreed to leave it all behind. Just as they were about to leave, Hevron, without remorse, stabbed Casper, preventing their escape. Hevron seems to be a son of the devil. How could he kill his own brother? Blood started to drip from the part where Casper got stabbed. He was so weak, yet he managed to hand her a ring. For her, it wasn't a perfect time for him to give the ring, but he insisted because he might not get another chance. Sounds tragic. Casper was attacked with demonic energy, so normal healing magic isn't going to work on his injury. So even though he has a divine power, he's still a human. He was going to die if she didn't do anything. With tears in her eyes, she tried to revive Casper by stopping his time. She didn't want to find someone who could heal him. With fierce anger flustered in her eyes, she faced the ruthless Hevron. In a blink of an eye, she tightly squeezed one of his snakes. She regretted not burning Hevron to a crisp ages ago. If not because of Casper, he would have been ashes long ago. He continued to provoke her until she no longer handled her anger. She was no longer hesitant to kill him despite Casper's disapproval. That was her chance, and she decided not to let it slip away. She turned herself into a huge dragon that mercilessly devoured Hevron. Blood splattered all over the place. She thought she finally got rid of him for good, not until a familiar voice called her name. Her eyes grew wide when she saw it was Casper. She was initially confused by him standing up like he wasn't about to die. But when she got closer to him, she realized it wasn't Casper. It was Hevron inside Casper's body. Yeah, he should have been a human barbecue. She began to startle while Hevron was smiling devilishly, tasting his victory. Seeing her worried face satisfied him. Casper's soul was on the verge of death and his body was free from the rules of the world, so it was easy for him to enter it. Turned out, it was all part of his evil plan, and unfortunately, Fatima fell for it. Besides, no matter how eager she was to attack Hevron, she couldn't because it was the face of her lover she was seeing. Before leaving, Hevron told her that they will meet again. Upon recalling Fatima's past, Woori begins to worry about it. Besides, it explains why Mephisto is approaching Princess Sierra. After everything he did, he still failed to get the Candentia. Woori fears Mephisto might manipulate Lancelot to summon Fatima, perhaps foreseen by Casper, who entrusted her with his power to prevent it. She worries about seeing intimate details and recalls Fatima's grief, spitting fire for days after Casper's death. Well, we can't blame her for doing that, especially that she's in deep pain. Out of the blue, he pulls her for a hug, which makes her stunned. Then he asks her a hard question. What would she do if he suddenly disappears? Woori immediately disagrees with the thought, but he assures her it's only a hypothetical question. She then leans closer to him with sadness evident in her eyes. The truth is, she doesn't want to imagine it happening, and if so, she'd try to find him. She'll certainly look in all places. He will remain in her heart, even though she'll realize that he no longer exists. She starts to nag about it, but he assures her that he won't be gone. Moments later, he holds her hand and swears to do the same if she disappears. How sweet. Okay, but when is it my turn? It feels like a romantic movie when he embraces his surroundings. It's already an assurance for her, and if their love has changed the world that he lives in, it's enough reason for her to stay. Later on, Lancelot comes up with the realization that even if they manage to stop Mephisto, he might still occupy another human's body. If so, their fight will only end up dragging out. So he decides that he'll get what they need for it. Woori wants to come, but he rejects it. At Duke Vestia's manor, Lancelot's unannounced arrival sparks immediate tension with prideful exchange turning to insults. Lancelot's anger erupts in power while Duke Vestia, desperate to reclaim Charlotte, brandishes his sword, threatening Lancelot's life. They start to attack each other, then Lancelot observes that the Duke is also a sword master, and his skill will allow him to wield a strong level of demonic power. As the battle rages on, amidst the clash of steel and the crackle of magic, Duke Vestia's mind drifts to memories of Charlotte. Despite his efforts to distance himself, he remembers how her gaze never wavered, always steadfast despite his attempts to push her away. Something about the change seems strange to him. An abrupt change in her aura left him unsettled. He uses lightning against his sword. Lancelot creates a huge lightning and throws it towards Duke Vestia, but he's quick to block the lightning with his sword and throws it back to Lancelot. Then a loud boom creates a huge explosion. With that, Lancelot falls to the ground. This scene escalates the pride within Duke Vestia. He even challenges Lancelot to have a proper match, and if he wins, he will ask Lancelot to give up on Charlotte. Moments later, Lancelot stands up like nothing happened and picks up a stick to insult Duke Vestia that he's not worth using a sword on. With his power, he makes the stick glow with lightning. Now that's what we call POWER. Little does Duke Vestia know, Lancelot is beyond powerful and his power grows huge. Upon seeing this, the Duke's eyes flash nothing but fear. He can't believe seeing it because it's like a natural disaster being thrown at him. Through his huge attack, he manages to crush Duke Vestia's sword, and finally, he successfully gets the red shining item. But still, the Duke tries to attack him by taking his crushed sword, but Lancelot is fast enough to stop him. His initial plan was to take him unharmed, but he seems not to be behaving as planned. But then again, it doesn't matter to him if the Duke broke an arm or a leg. Well, he deserves it. He should have lowered his pride. Duke Vestia recalls the time when he firmly advised Princess Sierra not to make deals with the demon because she'll lose herself if she does. Despite saying that, he feels tempted to call upon the demon again to defeat Lancelot. Not long after, Lancelot flashes the red stone, and in a single swoosh, Duke Vestia is trapped inside the stone. Lancelot clenches the stone out of victory, and now all that's left to take is the Imperial family. Meanwhile, Princess Sierra is staring at a sleeping Mephisto. Well, it's rare for her to see a demon sleeping. Then she decides to head out to fetch Vestia without knowing that the news of his absence will welcome her. Moments after, Hebron, or Mephisto, rises, realizing he has returned to Casper's form once again. He doesn't want to stay like that, not until he meets up with Fatima. As soon as Princess Sierra arrives at Duke Vestia's manor, the two guards rush towards her direction to tell her the news about the Duke being missing. They report how a thunderbolt suddenly struck the garden and destroyed it in an instant. Upon hearing their report, Princess Sierra couldn't help but recall how similar it was to what happened that day. Then, out of anger, she crumples the bouquet of roses that she brought for the Duke. Meanwhile, Fatima keeps on squeezing Woori, trying to be close to her with the hope of seeing her pass like what Woori saw. Woori offers to give back the ring for Fatima to look by herself, but unfortunately, the ring no longer shows her the past. She let out a sigh, saying she might even forget what Casper looks like. When Woori tells her what the ring had shown her, Fatima's reaction was surprisingly calm, despite sounding so desperate when she asked her about it the first time. Confused, Woori doesn't know why it's her who can see the past, yet scared that her luck will suddenly disappear in the same way that it came. Still, Fatima proceeds to cheer her up and tells her to give herself more credit because she's lovable. However, Woori can't help but to have doubts since she was hardly loved in her original world. She questions Fatima if someone like her will be able to give Lancelot the love he deserves when she started off as his fan. Still, Fatima continues to cheer her up and fills her with reassuring words. I want a friend like her! The next day, everyone is confused by the sudden crowd and everyone is talking about the Roshan's fiancé. What could be the announcement? Woori begins to announce that she needs help in front of everyone. She tells everyone that the demon has the imperial family of Tierras in his hands, and now he's after her and Roshan. After the crowd hears her saying there's going to be a battle, everyone starts to whisper with the fear of being involved in the said battle. After hearing all their concerns, she assures them that her and the Roshan will only participate directly in the battle. She asks everyone for help through defensive magic circles cast around the battlefield. She then shows them the map while telling everyone her plans, including the instructions not to let any curious civilian get hurt. Everyone remains silent until one whisper starts the loud murmurs among all of them. There are different opinions from the crowd. Then one stranger bravely shouts to ask Woori why they should help her when he can't see any reason why they should be involved. Obviously, the man only shows concern, which again started the rumor. Well, there's a deep-rooted history of oppression when it comes to the Empire and the magicians, and she's in no place to say anything about it. Still, despite receiving disapproval from the crowd, Woori remains apologetic to them, and she clarifies that she wants to crush the deep-rooted prejudice that the Empire holds towards magicians. In front of the crowd of magicians, she swears a promise that she will defend their honor with everything she has, then proceeds to ask them to lend her their magic. Then there was silence until a random kid offered to lend her magic. However, the kid's friend tries to stop her because she only knows firefly magic. But Woori giggles because the first magic that Roshan showed to her was firefly magic. Still, I like her bravery and willingness to help. One hand raise follows, then several hand raises come after the other. One magician suggests that her plan will work if the princess comes to Vorka Forest herself, and asks if she has the means to summon her. But then she assures him to no longer worry about it. Everyone's looking forward to this battle. So Woori commends Lancelot for his great work. She thinks that he even brought her a jewelry gift earlier, but in truth, it's actually a magic stone with Duke Vestia trapped inside it. With this, she is reminded of their conversation before when he was planning to fetch the Duke. They prepared a plan on how to lock the demon up and how to handle the Duke and the princess. Since it wouldn't be easy to trick them, they decided to kidnap Duke Vestia somehow. Moreover, Lancelot asked for Woodi's permission to use the power that he has in case of an emergency. Knowing what their enemies are like, she reminded him to be careful and get back at them if they ever hurt him. Now that Duke Vestia is locked up in a magic stone, she gets quite surprised since she wasn't expecting it. Anyway, she proceeds to begin their preparations quickly now that everyone in her team is present. The magicians learned how to cast demon-destroying circles. Also, Fatima evacuated all the people in the Renault Manor. Meanwhile, Woori and Arash complete their divine power training. At the end of the day, Lancelot reminds her to go to bed right away while healing her wounds. They need to leave for the forest early in the morning the next day. Shortly, she asks him to join her in bed. Since they have an important event taking place the next day, he declines. Woori is merely extending an invitation for him to relax with no intention of seduction, yet he appears to perceive her gesture as flirtatious. Seriously, there's no way she's not trying to seduce him, right? In the end, she decides to give him a goodnight kiss instead. Now that she's about to go to sleep, she imagines Lancelot's reaction when she kissed him a while ago. She continues to daydream about going on a honeymoon for a month, or maybe even a year. However, her imagination is cut short when the magic stone lights up. Ugh, what a way to ruin her mood! Woori then proceeds to pick it up, and while observing it, she realizes that it kind of looks familiar. On the other hand, Princess Sierra scolds the knights for failing to find Woori. She's so angry to the point that she's willing to chop anyone who's connected to her just to find her. Soon after, one of the knights announces that they have located her in the Vorka Forest. With this information, the princess decides to go after her right this instant. However, Mephisto stops and warns her that it's a trap. Being the stubborn princess that she is, Princess Sierra refuses to listen to her signer. She is persistent in going after Woori despite being warned of the trap. The thought of Leonard being away from her pushes her to do something. In truth, Mephisto selected the princess as his signer from among all the descendants of the Renault family because she bears the closest resemblance to him. Similarly, she is also ready to transform into someone else to capture the heart of her beloved. However, her recent actions prove that she might struggle to maintain control over this desire, as she remains firm with her decision. Meanwhile, Woori is currently having tea with Duke Vestia. Although he just wants to have tea with the woman he loves, she doesn't believe him at all. She starts getting upset and orders him to go back to her room instantly. This interaction is totally out of nowhere. However, he keeps testing her patience as he continues to flirt with her. He plans to ask for her hand in marriage once again after he claims the highest position in the Empire. She used to like hearing sweet words from him, but now she just gets irritated. In fact, Woori wants proof of Duke Vestia's love by doing the things that she wants him to do. Moreover, she asks how much he can sacrifice for her. Realistically speaking, love requires a lot of things, but he can't just give up his wealth and career for her. It's different for her, though. She knows what real love is like, and there is someone she loves who can easily rise to the highest position of power but chooses not to for the person he loves. Duke Vestia quickly guesses that she's talking about Lancelot, her butler. He then shares his thoughts on how that man is a monster, pretending to be gentle at first, but is actually a different person. Since he's being persistent, she low-key admits that she's not the Charlotte that he knows. Judging from the ring's reaction, it's not a good idea to reveal her true identity to him. If he's truly in love with her, then he must prove it. Shortly after, Woori wakes up. It turns out that the conversation she had with Duke Vestia was just a dream. Or so she thinks. OMG, was it a dream or reality? I'm dying for answers! On the way to the forest, she asks Lancelot if the Duke can emerge from the magic stone he's trapped in. He then explains that he won't be able to escape unless someone helps him since both his body and soul are trapped inside. If she wants to release him, she can simply break the stone. However, it would be like suicide for him to try to smash through it from the inside. Additionally, it will make it easier for them to provoke Princess Sierra. Soon after, the battlefield draws closer, visible from the carriage. At a village near Vorka Forest, the people around start chattering as the Imperial's family carriage passes by their village. On the other hand, Woori and Lancelot arrive at the forest, getting ready for the upcoming battle. She is determined to fight in order for the two of them to be happy. When everything is over, she plans to tell him all the details about how important he is to her. Admittedly, it could have been easier for them to fly and hide somewhere far away. Oh, I'm so excited for their super cute happily ever after! Facing their enemies head-on is a dangerous gamble. However, Lancelot had no choice but to take Woori to the battlefield because he understood that her behavior back then until now was out of the deep love and affection she had for him. Momentarily, Princess Sierra arrives and interrupts the lovers. She immediately asks for Duke Vestia's whereabouts as she strikes an attack. The thought of him getting hurt makes her furious. With her newfound heroism, Woori adopts the role of the antagonist. If she truly desires his return, she must take action herself. Upon discovering he's trapped within a magic stone, she launches a swift attack. As it turns out, there are a lot of things she can do in a high position of power. Sierra now owns an endless amount of land, wealth, and even lives. Surely this is what the Duke wants, and she wants to share this power with him as well. Unfortunately, her plans are ruined because of Woori. Moreover, she took what was hers without paying any sort of price for it before. In truth, Sierra isn't the only one suffering. Even when Woori looks back for just a brief moment, her eyes are drawn to the fragments of her past, the world that she left behind. She did what she had to do in the past for the person she loves. Whoa, the crazy things love makes you do. Her anger intensifies as she acknowledges her inability to accept her as the story's heroine. Soon after, she strikes an attack using Candentia. Surprisingly, Sierra has never seen such power like Woori's before. Finally, Mephisto decides to come out. However, it's seemingly strange that the curse isn't working. Not needing any help, Princess Sierra simply tells him to get lost if he's going to stop her again. Despite their current strained relationship, Mephisto remains supportive of her. When they signed their contract before, she gave Woori's body to him, which means that he should be able to control her by now. But currently, he is struggling to proceed with his curse because it seems like something's stopping it from taking over. Each of them makes an attack, targeting Woori. However, she's not fighting alone either. After being tied up by Mephisto, she calls out Lancelot. Here comes the knight in shining armor. Shortly, lightning flashes to attack the enemies. As a result, Princess Sierra is nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Mephisto is burned down thoroughly, and he has to use up almost all of his mana in order to recover. As expected, it is suicide to fight someone who is blessed with mana in a setting filled with nature. This is the reason he didn't want to come in the first place. As soon as Lancelot heard about cutting Woori's finger off earlier, he got furious. He's the only one allowed to touch her finger. Even if they paid the price with their lives, it wouldn't be enough. In response, Mephisto brings up his act of abandoning her, despite holding her in such high regard. In the end, it doesn't matter who wins. Either way, Woori is the only woman that he will love. Aww, that's actually, so romantic. Mephisto bluntly confronts Lancelot about his loyalty to House Renault, pointing out that he consistently seeks a new master whenever he feels abandoned. With this, it undermines the depth of his professed love. He even blames him for why everyone continues to abandon him, suggesting that he might face abandonment again this time. In reality, demons excel at manipulating human sadness and regrets, often offering assistance to exploit them. OMG, this is exactly what he's doing to Lancelot now! He's trying to manipulate him by using Woori. knowing that she is his weakness. Moreover, demons dig directly into their weaknesses, so humans can't avoid it even if they are aware of what's happening, especially if they're lonely. In the past, Woori saved Lancelot from loneliness. She acknowledged him when he was nothing more than a dimly lit firefly, and now she needs his help. He appears to be swayed by Mephisto's manipulative rhetoric. Whether through kindness, longing, or a guilty conscience, any slight weakening of his resolve will suffice. These fragile and delicate emotions are enough to fuel his anxiety, as is often the case with humans. However, in the end, the demon is the one being deceived. Aha! What a plot twist! Contrary to expectations, Lancelot proves resistant to manipulation. There isn't a single vulnerability for anyone to take advantage of him. Additionally, Woodi's absence from his side is due to a different reason. After Mephisto loses his connection to his signer, it's quite difficult to endure their fight. Fortunately, he has come prepared for this situation. Nothing in this world can completely overpower demonic energy. He just has to fly up and locate his signer. Momentarily, he sends his demonic energy around the area, which isn't his. Before he can take any action, Lancelot intervenes. The demonic energy surrounding them actually radiates from him, serving as a form of retaliation for what he did during his engagement ceremony in the past. Previously, Woori and Lancelot went to a magician to ask for assistance. She asked to borrow a demon's energy to catch another demon. They chose this magician since he had joined hands with the demon before in order to gain power and earn recognition from his family. When he became a magician, his family cut him off, and he hasn't received any support from them since. House Mataha is a powerful family that has allied with House Vestia, and they removed him as the successor solely because he's a magician. In return for doing Woodi's favor, she explained their plan for defeating the princess for good. Additionally, she advised him to side with the people who could offer him a better deal. Presently, the demonic energy that Mephisto senses is actually coming from the magician. It turns out that he eventually agreed with the deal. In order to honor his commitment, Lancelot prohibits the demon from acting freely as he once did. After a while, Woori finally gains her consciousness back. It seems like her previous attack succeeded. Meanwhile, Princess Sierra is polluting the entire area with her demonic energy, even though she's unconscious. She tries to wake her up, however, she won't budge. With this, she's left with no choice and decides to purify the area. To her surprise, the princess suddenly disappears afterward. Unexpectedly, Woori is taken aback by the sudden attack from Sierra. Fortunately, she's able to avoid her. It's unlikely for the princess to stop attacking her because things will never turn out the way she wants them to as long as a ghost like her is around. Shortly after attacking each other, Woori appears to be paralyzed. Earlier, the princess tried to stab her with a sword while pretending to swing her scythe. Moreover, she used as much of Candanthia's power as she could to block the attack, but its light disappeared in a flash. It turns out that Princess Sierra has actually absorbed Candanthia. Now, she begins to boast about it as she possesses more knowledge about it than she does. Additionally, one of the qualifications for being chosen by God to wield the power is to possess the soul of a member of House Renault. My gosh, I hate her guts! As she continues her boasting, Woori initiates an attack. It becomes apparent that she can confront the princess even without Candanthia. However, she still appears to be at a disadvantage in the current confrontation. Sierra then commands her to apologize for faking the real Charlotte. On the brink of surrendering, Woori begins to question her ability to defeat the real Charlotte. Previously, Woori was certain that Duke Vestia was not in love with her real personality. However, if he chooses to continue claiming that he is, then he should prove it to her. What she said really struck him. Following their conversation, he continues to ponder how to demonstrate his love for her. Despite presenting flowers, jewels, and heartfelt confessions, all he receives in response are cold glances. He is beginning to doubt the extent of his willingness to sacrifice for her. For the Duke, it seems impossible for him to give up everything that he has and remain in a lower position of power. All his life, he has never even thought of doing such a thing. At the present time, Duke Vestia manages to free himself from being locked inside the Monostone. Princess Sierra immediately rushes to check on him, only to be taken aback when he calls her a monster. Oh wow, she got humbled real quick. Despite her feelings of devastation, he seems not to care as he goes to check on Woori. Upon catching sight of her own reflection, she promptly flees. Momentarily, he gets scolded for breaking the seal. In his defense, his body acted without thinking. Moreover, he admits that all this time, he has only been thinking about how to convey his love to her. However, she interrupts him, explaining that she must go after the princess first. Just as she's about to leave, he stabs the contract as a gesture of his love. Then he requests to reveal her true name. On the other side of the forest, a family of 4 witnesses the magic going around in the area. The father blames the magicians for it when in fact, they prioritize the family's safety and even tell them to evacuate to a safe place. The demonic energy and divine power in the forest are mixing together and polluting the area. But the magicians of the magic tower are doing everything they can to contain the pollution. At the moment, the family is instructed to leave the premises with their children. While the magicians are merely attempting to assist, the people perceive their abilities as intimidating as the magic emanating from the forest. The adults are cautious of them, while the children see them as heroes. Oh, I love how the kids are appreciative. Just when Woori is about to say her real name, Duke Vestia starts coughing blood. For him, it's not a big deal since he broke off his contract with the demon a moment ago. Now, there's one less host for the demon to use. To be fair, he doesn't like his plan anyway. Truthfully, no man would want the woman he loves to disappear from the world. With this statement, Woori feels taken aback. Normally, she would just tell him to cut his nonsense. However, he suddenly seems to be acting genuinely on his own will, just like when Lancelot confessed his love to her before. After sensing the weight of his true feelings, she decides to say her real name. Furthermore, she admits that she has been in love with someone else all along. The only reason she is present in this world is to make him happy. Admittedly, all she can do for Duke Vestia is to turn him down. Now that he knows the reason for her rejection, he feels slightly better. Yay! I'm glad it went well. Meanwhile, Princess Sierra continues to feel devastated after her interaction with the Duke, whom he called a monster earlier. Because of her desperation to be with him, she's willing to give him everything he wants, even if she has to become someone else. Momentarily, she uses magic to transform herself back into a beautiful princess. Just in time, Mephisto arrives to ask her to sign a new contract with him. However, she refuses. Even though he has lasted for centuries in his current body, he's already weak after his fighting with Lancelot. Thus, he needs a body that has absorbed the Candentia. After manipulating Sierra into thinking that the Duke is dying in another woman's arms, she quickly orders him to enter her body. Indeed, Princess Sierra is a foolish blind woman by greed. Ugh, I'm so disappointed in her. Upon the demon entering her body, Princess Sierra can feel the divine power rippling inside her. Although she may not be the chosen one, she gets a hold of the power in the end. Mephisto then starts consuming her, but she fights him off. It turns out that she is using his power to become a demon herself. On the other hand, Lancelot and Woori finally meet. Soon after checking on each other, Sierra comes back stronger to attack them. She's now consuming what's left of Mephisto as she becomes a demon. In her current state, it's quite hard to stop her. However, Lancelot is determined to draw out as much mana as he can to defeat her. Admittedly, Woori feels anxious knowing that the final knot tying her to this world will unravel after she uses up the Candentia. But he wouldn't let that happen. Rather, he is willing to anchor her to this world even if the knot comes undone. I want the kind of love that they have. In that thrilling moment, the couple manages to make it romantic by sharing a kiss. Shortly, Caspar now arrives and interrupts them. He offers help by leading them to the demon. He admits that the chaos right now is because of his indecision. As a matter of fact, he's blinded by the affection that he has for his brother and fails to stop his misdeeds. In addition, he also hurt the woman he loved and let his ill fate plague his descendants. Since Caspar wants to stay by Fatima's side in any way he can, he decides to utilize the last bit of power that he has left in order to put an end to it all. This time, the Candentia feels totally different from before. Its power is whole and stable. After witnessing this, Woori concludes that they might have found the sheath for the Candentia. An expanding surge of demonic power surrounds the princess, who is in control of a demon which maneuvers her body through their contract. Charlotte and Lancelot are deliberating on how to end the surging of the power and defeat the enemy efficiently. Eventually, Lancelot comes up with a plan to charge towards the orbiting power to cut its arms while he informs Charlotte to take care of the demonic core. As she agrees with the plan, Lancelot presumes that the evil power may scatter once the demonic core is dealt with, but it is the only way to end the princess's suffering. Bro, Lancelot is such a brilliant person that I'd keep him beside me forever. Soon enough, Lancelot triggers the soul inside the princess's body by emotionally affecting her with past hurtful memories. She begins to grow angrier as her powers exhilarate. This time, Lancelot signals Charlotte to remove the demonic orb from the princess's chest, and they successfully defeat the fiend. However, in the middle of grabbing the red crystal core, Charlotte's mind tingles with unclear recollection of something very familiar about the red light illuminating from the core. I suddenly feel like a memory from the past is unlocking, like, what if she has had amnesia and forgot about her past? Then the curtain flaps and snaps out Woori from her sleep while her hand raises to grab the core, like how Charlotte seizes the illuminating demonic core in her triumph with Lancelot in defeating the evil spirit. Woori screams in surprise as she awakes. Back in reality, she sits up from her sleep on her bed while she can only sit still in confusion of what happened. What was that? Is she Charlotte or what? Woori wonders why she is brought back to reality, as she rushes to check her phone while blaming Arash for the probability of doing something that distorted her involvement in the storyline. Only the abyss of shock and mixed emotions flash in her eyes when she finds out that the novel is deleted and nowhere to be found, as if it never existed in the first place. This event causes her lack of motivation and emptiness in her heart in the process of functioning as an ordinary office worker. Despite trying to work, she feels sick, and it physically shows obviously when her coworker suggests she take a break from her computer. She decides to unwind for a bit before going back to work and goes up the balcony of their office floor. Everything that has happened and is now occurring seems off. Additionally, she analyzes what she went through in the past days and tries to make herself believe that it was all a dream. Suddenly, a peculiar ambiance shifts the whole top view of the buildings that she is viewing. She goes over the events in the novel as she vomits, diaphoretic of what comes next. A loud, subconscious thought shocks her. It makes her want to believe that she killed the main character. As a result, she runs away, not knowing what to do next. Not until someone grabs her from behind. The moment she looks back, she sees a distortion of the world she is in. The person grabbing her has an obscure, indistinguishable face that makes her want to flee. Even I'd run if someone grabs me by the shoulders and had no face. A voice in her mind speaks again, telling her to go back where she belongs. This scares the whole life of her as she pushes the person away. The people around her begin to speak, asking her where she is going or whether she knows where the exit is. She then thinks of a way on how to remove herself from this distorted world. She thinks of some kind of trigger, like putting herself in an accident, yet she feels reluctant to jump this high. Eventually, another person comes closer to her, but she rejects him because she continues to believe that she is not in the right world. However, the moment she pushes him away, the guy pulls her closer, telling her that it is him, Lancelot. Everything in her view fades away as she melts in Lancelot's hands, even in shock of his presence. She asks him several questions, and he answers every one of them. She forgot that Lancelot promised to find her regardless of how many dimensions he would enter. And now he finds her, weak and confused in a distorted world. Finally, when she feels calmer, he asks her hand and wishes to go back home with her. I am dreadfully invested in these two. I swear I'd even make a fandom if I had to. Instead of seeing a distortion of flickering lights, with Lancelot around for her, the night in this world feels more romantic and peaceful for Woori. As the night is filled with flickers of firing lights and city glow, their lips crash softly. Woori embraces Lancelot tightly, as if not letting him go from her grasp and still in disbelief of his presence right now. Soon enough, he blushes by the thought that perhaps she feels bad kissing him, but she assures him and tells him to stop calling her Miss and start calling her Woori. They really moved up to another level of intimacy. Meanwhile, as they hold hands to go wherever they need to be, Woori recounts the time she's in the novel and remembers the sceneries, scents, and memories she has built with the annoyingly lovely people in the novel. How she loved everything in the novel. The portal opens for them to leave the dimension, and suddenly everything feels familiar again. When she opens her eyes, she turns into Charlotte, the heroine. Back at the time when the demonic core was collected, only 3 people were left behind. Lancelot, Charlotte, and Fatima, along with the dead body of Casper. Fatima sorrows in front of Casper, yet thanks the two for allowing her to give him a proper send-off. The two leave as Fatima lets her husband finally go. Consequently, the two plan to teleport to the magic tower to see Princess Sierra, whose body was used by the demon. Charlotte found out when she took the demonic core on that day how the demon imprisoned the princess in her own body, begging to be freed. She then gives life to the princess and ends her suffering. Later on, Woori asks Lancelot where the real Charlotte's soul has gone to, yet they had no clue. Almost out of luck, Arash comes to their aid and tells them that he has an answer to her query. I wonder what Arash will be telling them again. I hope it's good news, though. Back in the past, Arash speaks to the criminal, Charlotte Renault. He allows her to express her crime, yet her eyes are filled with emptiness and sorrow, telling him straight out to kill her right away. She is determined to end her life, as there is no point in living if she's not with her beloved Leonard, who admitted to his crime. He is to be reincarnated soon, yet in her case, she'll be vanished from the world as her soul stays in the realm of the heavens forever, and her body will be receiving a new soul. So in the coming days after her consequences, a guardian rushes to inform Arash of Charlotte's escape. Arash goes into deep distress, thinking what lengths Charlotte is capable of doing. As if Arash knows her so well, Charlotte falls on the ground and drops a red gemstone. Her face is filled with desperation to see her beloved Leonard. By that time, the council has already erased her soul from her body, yet she manages to take the gemstone where Leonard is being kept. She summons his body, yet he does not remember her. She frightfully tries to make him remember her, his beloved and most cherished person. But before she could let him love her, she vanished into oblivion. I'm a fan for tragic love stories. Eventually, this is the story Arash tells Woori and Lancelot during the present time. And as they leave, the two climb the mountaintops while Woori, who resides in Charlotte's body, asks for a dagger, cuts her hair, and gives the past Charlotte a better send-off. At the very least, she's doing Charlotte a good send-off, knowing that without her, she wouldn't be around loving Lancelot. Woori hustles on a tremendously busy schedule. As soon as the princess awakens, she has to attend to her and reports to her everything that has happened. She also has to clean up all the demonic forces that radiate throughout the palace walls, and tends to the magicians and the people of Tierras. She serves as the bridge between the two parties who are in turmoil. The people refuse to accept magic as an asset in the kingdom, yet with her aid, she is able to persuade them through facts and evidence that magic can also be a good thing for the people's safety. And because of her hard work, Lancelot notifies her how the Renout's family reputation has ascended. 2 months pass swiftly. The Renout Marchioness's duty is being done by Woori during the period. Today, a worried citizen rushes to ask for the family's help to train their child who has magic. And the more she interacts with these people, the harder it becomes for her as Woori's social battery depletes into almost nothing. She sighs deeply. Sitting on her chair for hours makes her feel fatigued at the very least. However, she sees some light from all the work that, despite how taxing it is to live as someone else in this world, she gets to enjoy the blessing of living with great people, especially Lancelot. Lancelot introduces the last visitor of the day, only to confuse Woori. He presents himself as the visitor and explains that he is also a citizen under the Renout's territory, so he still has the rights to seek for the leader's aid. Suddenly, Lancelot takes out a box and presents it to her. He asks for her hand to marry him and end their prolonged engagement. She jolts in happiness to answer him with the biggest yes. OMG, finally, they're getting married! Finally, the day of the wedding comes, yet Lancelot tells Woori that she could have chosen a more grandiose reception for the wedding, but she says the chosen place feels the best for her. She wraps her hands around Lancelot's arms as they speak of romance and intimacy with each other. When they are about to reach the peak of intimacy and a kiss is on its way, the guardian cuts them off to inform them of their entrance. Almost pissed off, Woori prepares herself to enter the wedding reception along with her husband-to-be. As they walk towards the altar, Fatima awaits. In Woori's mind, she is now to be betrothed to the person who at first she really loved as a character in a novel, but now is her butler and the person she wants to stay beside with forever. Finally, as she says her vows and accepts him as her husband, she tells herself how it is an understatement to say where she is now is a success. Girl, it is an understatement. Your life right now is ultimately perfect. However, Fatima envies them so much that she pulls out her wedding gift, a rain of petals that colors the sky with the resembling color of passion and love, red. The two sit beside each other in awe of the sight of falling flower petals, finally wedded. In Fatima's palace grounds, the two are summoned to see Fatima, who is currently lying in bed almost half asleep. She deems herself working with the distortion of time and who is behind it, while she reasons that she can only find the culprit in her sleep. Lancelot complains plainly that she would have just told them what they're here for, so they can leave her be to sleep whenever she wants. She then points to the shelf and tells the two, while her eyes are still closed, to take the blue box as her gift to them. The two are going on a honeymoon to Enrique Kingdom. They let Fatima be on her bed and look at the blue box right away so they can leave her to rest. Eventually, what they see is a dusty old blue box that they assume is something Fatima is giving them, as she does not use it much. Without even asking Fatima if it's the right box, the two leave her lair, excited to take on their honeymoon trip. Hours later, Fatima awakens from her deep sleep. She then tries to check whether the two have taken her gift, which was in the red box on the shelf with a white ribbon. She then realizes that she told them the wrong color, so in an attempt to remember what was in the blue box, she mistook them to bring. On the flip side, 2 bracelets are inside the blue box. Woori wears hers and ties the other one around Lancelot's wrist. Accidentally, the bracelets accentuated the look that the couple are going for in this honeymoon trip. The two are planning to make a floating lantern, yet the cabin does not allow the wives to make it with her husband. So for a long period of persuasion, Woori pushes Lancelot to make the lantern alone while she waits outside. As she waits for her husband outside, she thinks to herself that maybe she was a bit harsh on the literal pushing, but she also considers that she wants Lancelot to love other things aside from her too, as he is no longer just her butler but her husband. Suddenly, a rustle of leaves from behind her happens. She prepares her powers to attack whom it may be, but a small kid with white hair comes in front of her, blushing. He asks her to marry him with a flushed face, yet the startled Woori shouts why he was asking her that serious question and who he is in the first place. Strange characters are starting to pop up at this point. A cute kid asking for a married girl's hand is so weird. Woori is taken aback by what the kid just asked her a few seconds ago. He awaits for her answer, still with a flushed face. Woori calms herself down and explains that it is impossible for her to marry a young kid like him. Yet he stops her and expresses his devotion to become better, more handsome, and grow taller so he can marry the most beautiful lady he has ever seen, referring to Woori. Trying to be a bigger person, Woori tries to talk him out of the situation by informing him that she's already married, yet the boy insists on marrying his mom. Lancelot comes into the scene and warns Woori to stay away from the child as he feels a different kind of mana coming from him. Dumbfounded and confused, Woori tries to comprehend what the boy is telling them, yet Lancelot stands in front of Woori before the kid can even throw his magic towards them. Lancelot feels himself stop moving while a bunch of duplicates of the boy try to pin him down with illusion magic. Woori, who is about to help her husband, is also being tricked by the kid by emotionally challenging her if she would hit him. Lancelot is faced by the boy, whose eyes turn red while threatening Lancelot to bring Woori back to them. Soon, when Woori is about to be tricked by the illusion, a slash of a wooden cane stops all the illusion. The three wonder where it comes from, and later, a girl with black hair introduces herself as Rowena Renault Roshan, and her younger brother, Ludhain Renault Roshan. They are Lancelot and Woori's children. This occurrence brings so much confusion and mind-boggle to the couple. The 4 of them sit down to talk about everything that is happening as of the moment. Rowena shares to them what happened in the future. Ludhain always wanted to marry his mom, but his dad keeps on teasing him that he can only marry his mom, Woori, once he has defeated his dad, Lancelot. Yet, expectedly, Lancelot wins over and over again, and this only gets Ludhain more frustrated. Hence, he locks himself in the magic tower for a month. Without anyone knowing, he plans to travel back in time before his mom and dad met each other. Luckily, the moment Ludhain opens the portal, Rowena was near the magic room and immediately tried to stop him, but it was too late. Now they're in the present with their mom and dad, and Ludhain's time traveling fails, and shows the key where the formula is written. However, his idea of changing the formula was indeed a brilliant idea, as pertained by Lancelot himself, if only it was a bit accurate. But given how young Ludhain is to be able to create such a formula, it is brilliant by itself. Lancelot then tries to help his son by changing the formula, yet Ludhain rejects his help, complaining how his dad always changes the formula for him. Ludhain is really in his Oedipus complex era. I can tell. Lancelot feels rejected at this point. His face turns sad knowing how he feels so happy knowing he will have kids with his wife in the future, yet his relationship with his own son is sour. Eventually, Woori finds an idea to allow Lancelot to create a good impression on his son by inviting them to join the lantern floating tonight before they go back to the future. However, upon going to the location, Ludhain senses a cracking sound, yet shrugs it off in frustration about his father. Oh no. I don't know where this is going, but I think that key is surely important. Flashback to a past event that happened to Ludhain in the future. No one wanted to be in his team as he excels too much alone, given that his dad, Lancelot, is the master of magic, and Ludhain probably takes his excellency from his dad. This only made Ludhain more and more miserable on his own. He wanted to have someone who would love him the most. In the present, Woori tells them to write their wishes on the lantern, but the 2 kids argue like how children do. When Woori asks Lud about his wish, he glares at his dad and expresses his hate towards him as he hits him. Finally, Lancelot steps up his game and tries to be a dad. He speaks with Ludhain and realizes his feelings are evidently the same with how Lancelot feels when he was his age, how he felt alone during those years. He consoles his son and hugs him as Ludhain cries in his father's arms. Rowena, on the other hand, hides with her mother as she tells her that Ludhain actually loves his father a lot. That's why his emotions change fast. Subsequently, the key broke off. It is a problem given that once the bracelets break, the characters will fade as if they do not exist in the first place. Like so, Rowena notices her hand fading. Lancelot goes into deep thinking. Humans are not allowed to distort time, and this becomes a problem if they do not know anyone inhuman. Yet, Lancelot knows Fatima. They immediately depart to Fatima's lair to ask for her help. Fatima asks them slyly why they came all the way back from Enrique Kingdom and back to her house, and Lancelot blames the gift she gave them a while back. Woori and Lancelot tell her the problem of their future children being here in the past. So Fatima interrogates the two, but Ludhain continues to deny himself. But in the end, when Fatima earnestly compliments him and assures him that he will be growing up fast, Ludhain falls in love as a child. Fatima then brings him back to the future, and the couple thanks her. The children bid their parents farewell, and they'll be seeing them later, which warms the hearts of Woori and Lancelot, to know that they have kids who look like them, made with love and passion. If I can't have a love like this, then I don't want one. They're just so perfect. And that's it for today, guys. What did you think?